Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers. Chapter 405. 405 Super Region. Buzz. Oh. The three of them landed at the bottom of the cliff. There were already more than 20 people gathered at the bottom of the cliff. These 20 people were in different positions and were far away from each other. Some people were sitting cross-legged, as if they were comprehending something. Some of them were looking at the sword marks on the cliff wall seriously. At this point they could see even more clearly. On the huge cliff wall, there was a slanted sword mark that was more than 100 meters long. It was deeply engraved on the cliff wall, and was filled with an ancient aura. No one knew how long it had been passed down. An extremely profound sword essence spread out. Lu Ming stared at the sword mark carefully. All of a sudden, the sword mark enlarged in Lu Ming's eyes. In the end, the entire world changed. The heavens and earth turned into a battlefield, and the shouts of kill suppressed the heavens. Suddenly, a sword light came from afar. It was boundless and indescribable. When the sword light came out, the sky was split. The sword gleam was getting closer and closer to Lu Ming. It contained an unparalleled killing intent. Ah! Lu Ming bellowed and retreated rapidly. The environment changed. Lu Ming realized that he was still under the cliff. He took 3 steps back, leaving 3 footprints on the ground. Who? Lu Ming heaved a sigh of relief. The sword attack just now was like facing the god of death. Around him, some people glanced at him and then turned their heads away, not finding it strange. Brother Lu, are you all right? Jian Fengyun looked at Lu Ming. I'm fine. Lu Ming shook his head. Brother Lu, you are truly a peerless talent. You were able to stay in that sword intent for half an hour, and when you woke up, you only took 3 steps back. I only had 10 minutes just now, and I almost vomited blood when I woke up. Xiao Hao Yu said with a smile. It's a pity that Brother Lu doesn't cultivate the sword. Otherwise, you'd definitely become a peerless swordsman. Jian Fengyun said. Half an hour. Lu Ming was very surprised. Just now, he only felt that a while had passed. Unexpectedly, half an hour had already passed. Brother Lu, Brother Xiao and I plan to stay here to comprehend the sword intent here. I'm afraid we can't go to the dragon's cave with you. Jian Fengyun looked at Lu Ming apologetically. It doesn't matter. This sword intent was probably left behind by a peerless swordsman. For a swordsman, it's a supreme opportunity. If I were a swordsman, I'd probably stay and cultivate too. Lu Ming said with a smile. They were all martial artists, so he could understand what Jian Fengyun and the others were thinking. This sword scar was too tempting for a sword cultivator. It was hard to resist. If one could comprehend a trace of it, it would be very useful. Compared to the dragon's cave, this place was more practical for them. To Lu Ming, it was better for Jian Fengyun and the others to stay here. He would be able to do more by exploring the dragon's cave alone. I hope that Brother Lu will have a great harvest in the dragon's cave. Jian Fengyun and Xiao Hao Yu cupped their fists together. We'll meet again. Lu Ming cupped his fists, then turned into a ray of light, soared into the sky and disappeared. After that, Lu Ming no longer slowed down to search for the spiritual herbs. Instead, he flew at high speed. Along the way, Lu Ming saw a few fights, but he ignored them and passed by them in a flash. Who's that? Half a day later, a majestic mountain range appeared in front of them. This mountain range was at least a few thousand miles long. It was winding and laid on the ground. Lu Ming could barely see the outline of the mountain range from a few hundred miles away. From afar, this mountain range really looked like a true dragon. Oh! Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers. It had 5 dragon claws, and its body was covered in scales formed from various rocks. There were also 2 dragon horns on its head. Its shape was exactly the same as the true dragon in the legends. This is the legendary Dragon Mountain. We've arrived at the dragon's cave. Lu Ming's eyes lit up and he quickly headed toward the dragon's head. As they neared, they discovered that this mountain range was truly too majestic. Its high point pierced through the clouds. When Lu Ming arrived at the dragon's head, he realized that many people had already arrived. At a glance, there were no less than 2,000 people. More than 2,000 people were scattered around a lake, which was very wide. Above the lake was the dragon head of the Dragon Mountain. The dragon's head was open, revealing a dark cave. At that moment, something strange was happening. The water in the lake formed a column from the bottom to the top and flew into the dragon's mouth. It looked like a real dragon was absorbing water. This was the phenomenon of a waterspout. Legend had it that the real dragon's den was right under this lake. Once the lake water was sucked dry, the real dragon's den would be revealed. Thousands of people were waiting around the lake. Lu Ming landed and mixed in with the crowd. "Brother Feng, why are there only a few of you left in the flowing water bay area?" Someone was chatting beside him. "Sai, the others are all dead. They were killed by people from the big areas. What about you guys? Why don't you have many people?" "Don't mention it. We also encountered a big region and attacked without any reason. The strongest people in our region were killed. On the other hand, we, who are not strong, escaped the disaster. However, the people from the big region behind also died. I saw their bodies and their blood was sucked dry. It was extremely terrifying." "What? Did you guys see the corpses that had their blood sucked dry?" "We also saw it." Lu Ming's expression changed. It seemed that the incident of his blood being sucked dry was not only happening in the area that he had passed by, but also in other areas. As time passed, more and more people gathered here. After half a day, there were no less than 3,000 people here. A portion of the water on the lake's surface had also been reduced. Buzz, buzz. At this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. Dozens of young men and women stepped on the air and arrived. Each of these people had a terrifying aura. They all had one thing in common. The men were very handsome and the women were beautiful. "The people from Phoenix Lake area are here," someone exclaimed. "It's over. I didn't expect that even the geniuses from the Phoenix Lake area would come. Are we still going to get a share of the dragon's cave?" Someone sighed. Lu Ming's heart was moved. He had naturally heard of the Phoenix Lake region. It was a region that was even more powerful than a large region like the Thousand River region. It was known as a super region. In a large region, there would only be one high-tier empire. In a super region, there would be at least 2 or even 3 or 4 advanced empires. They were extremely powerful and had many geniuses. It was said that there were 3 high-level empires, medium-level empires, and low-level empires in the Phoenix Lake area. There were more than 1,000 of them, which was much more powerful than the Cloud Emperor mountain range area. "Look, the one wearing the Phoenix robe is the strongest person in the Phoenix Lake region, the number 1 genius Qi Xian. It's said that he is a 4-battle genius and his cultivation has reached the peak of the 8th grade martial ancestor realm." "What? A 4-battle genius? The peak of martial ancestor 8 Dan, is that terrifying?" "Of course, that's the strongest person in a super region. He's known as a peerless genius." Lu Ming looked over as well. Indeed, among the people from Phoenix Lake, he saw a handsome young man in his early 20s, who was dressed in a phoenix robe. He was Huang Qixian. However, his eyes looked extremely cold and arrogant. He was not the only one. The rest of the people from Phoenix Lake had similar expressions. They had cold and arrogant looks on their faces as they hovered in the air not far away from Lu Ming and the rest. Chapter 406. 406 Extremely overbearing. Buzz, buzz. Oh. Right at this moment, a series of air-piercing sounds rang out in the distance, attracting everyone's attention. That's the genius from the Blazing Flame Mountain region. The people from the Blazing Flame Mountain region have also come. Another super region. How can we have a share in this? And the most powerful man in the Flaming Mountains, Bu Fifen, is here. When this group of people arrived, everyone burst out in another wave of exclamations. Even the geniuses from the Phoenix Lake area were frowning. "Ha ha ha, Huang Qixian. I didn't expect you to be here too." The geniuses from the Flaming Mountain region stopped on the other side of the lake, putting some distance between them and the people from the Phoenix Lake region. A young man with long fiery red hair laughed. "Bu Fifen, if you can come, I can naturally come too." Huang Qixian sneered. "Haha, it's really lively. Let's join." With a loud laugh, dozens of rainbow lights came rapidly from the sky. The rainbow light dissipated, revealing dozens of young figures, who stopped on the other side of the lake. It's the people from the Yangspring Valley area. The super region Yangchuan Valley. Some people were already in despair. Super regions had arrived one after another, and the strongest people were all among them. The arrival of the Yangspring Valley area made the faces of Bu Fifan, Huang Qixian, and the others sink. To the north of this lake was the dragon head of Dragon Mountain. The three super regions stopped in the east, south, and west of the lake. It was obvious that they were wary of each other. Following that, more and more people arrived, but no one was able to attract the attention of the three super regions. Half an hour later, a young man in a gray robe with a long sword in his arms appeared above the lake without a sound. This young man had an ordinary appearance. He was dressed in a gray robe and looked very old. He stood quietly in the air. However, Huang Qixian, Bu Fifan, and the strongest expert in the Yangspring Valley, Sun Chu, all changed their expressions when they saw this person. Xian Feng of the ancient barren city, Huang Qixian said solemnly. As soon as he said this, it caused a commotion. What? Ancient desolate city? Could this person be someone from the ancient barren city? It's said that the ancient barren city is extremely mysterious. Very few people come out, but once they do, they're peerless monsters. If this person is from the ancient barren city, then he's terrifying. It seems like the Dragon's Cave is very attractive to these peerless geniuses. There's going to be a good show to watch this time. While the crowd was discussing, Xian Feng of the ancient barren city still held his sword in his arms and remained silent. His expression didn't even change. Huang Qixian and the others looked at Xian Feng with a little fear and did not say a word. Following that, the number of people increased and it quickly broke through 4,000. At a glance, the lake was surrounded by people. Huang Qixuan's eyes swept over and revealed a look of disgust. He said coldly, "A bunch of trash wants to get their hands on the treasures in the Dragon's Cave. They're really delusional and overconfident." Many people's faces changed, but for fear of the Phoenix Lake area and Huang Qixuan's strength, no one dared to say anything. What a bunch of trash." Huang Qixian snorted, then said to Bu Fifan and Sun Chu, "Bu Fifan, Sun Chu, why don't we do this? Before we enter the Dragon's Cave, let's clean up all these garbage. What do you think?" "All right. I was thinking the same thing." Bu Fifan and Sun Chu both nodded. The others' expressions changed drastically. The people from the larger regions can stay. Fly to the sky. As for the trash from the smaller regions, get out of my way and don't get in the way. Huang Qixuan's eyes were like lightning as he looked around and scolded loudly. Upon hearing this, the experts from the larger regions all heaved a sigh of relief and flew up into the sky, distancing themselves from the people from the smaller regions. The rest were all people from small areas. The people in the small area had ugly expressions. They looked at each other but no one left. Who would be willing to leave so easily? "It seems that you guys aren't going to get lost, right?" Huang Qixuan's eyes turned cold. "Huang Qixian, you guys are too overbearing. The Dragon's Cave is a land without an owner. Anyone can come and get an opportunity. Why should it be occupied by you? I'm not convinced. There are so many of us here, we don't have to be afraid of you." "Not bad." Someone shouted. "Oh, it seems like you're not going to leave?" Huang Qixian sneered. Then he looked at Bu Fifan and Sun Chu and said, "You two, each of us will take a direction. How about this, we'll each clear a direction and see which side is faster." "Good. This is interesting. Just what I wanted." Bu Fifan and Sun Chu both laughed. "Then let's begin." Buzz. As soon as Huang Qixuan's voice fell, his figure flashed like lightning. "Ah!" A shrill scream was heard and everyone saw that a young man's heart was pierced by Huang Qixuan's claw. The young man let out a desperate roar and finally stopped breathing. "You're just a piece of trash, yet you talk so much. Die." Huang Qixian sneered. "Whoever doesn't get lost will die in the next moment." A cold voice came out of Huang Qixuan's mouth. "Damn it, they're going too far. If we work together, we don't have to be afraid of them." A tall young man roared, and a powerful aura emanated from his body. He was at the peak of the 7th level of the Grandmaster realm. He was a genius who was not weaker than Jian Fengyun. He was most likely the strongest person in a small area. Then we'll die together. Huang Qixuan sneered and his figure rushed towards the young man. Kill! The young man roared and slashed out a shocking saber ray. But in the next moment Puchi! Huang Qixuan's claws seemed to be able to pierce through everything. The blade light was shattered and then, like the previous person, his heart was pierced. The strongest person in a small area had died. A piece of trash dares to make such a big fuss? You're looking for death. A red light flashed on Huang Qixuan's claws, but not a single drop of blood was stained. The others were extremely frightened. He was too strong and they were no match for him at all. The strongest expert of a small region was killed in a single move. The gap was too great. If you don't retreat within 3 breaths, kill without mercy. Huang Qixuan's eyes were cold as he scanned the surroundings. Buzz! Buzz! The masters of Phoenix Lake moved quickly, exuding powerful auras. Let's go, let's go! Finally, someone roared and retreated unwillingly. Let's go too! Helplessly, the people in the small area all retreated. As for the other 2 directions, they were in a similar situation. After a few experts were killed, they also retreated helplessly. After a few breaths, only the people in the area were left. Of course, Xian Feng had been holding his sword and did not move. Huang Qixuan and the others naturally would not touch him. In an instant, all the people in the small area had left. No, there was only one person left. That was Lu Ming. Initially, Lu Ming was at the east side of the lake. Phoenix Lake was in charge of this side. At this time, he was standing there alone and appeared very conspicuous. The geniuses from Phoenix Lake, Flaming Mountain Range, Yangshuan Valley, and other large areas all looked at Lu Ming. Chapter 407. 407 The Great Battle Against Yin Qixuan. Ha ha ha, Huang Qixuan, there's still someone on your side. It seems like you've lost. Oh, Bu Fifan laughed. It seems that Phoenix Lake's deterrence is only average. Sun Chu also sighed. Huang Qixuan's face suddenly turned extremely gloomy. Then, he looked at Lu Ming with eyes full of killing intent. Kid, I told you to get lost, didn't you hear me? Huang Qixuan said sinisterly. Lu Ming glanced at Huang Qixuan and smiled faintly. I told you to get lost, are you going to get lost? Tell me to get lost? Kid, have you gone crazy? Do you have the right to do that? Huang Qixuan sneered. Then that's it, you're telling me to get lost? Who do you think you are, do you have the right to do so? Lu Ming smiled faintly. Ha ha ha. Bu Fifan laughed wildly and said, Huang Qixuan, it seems that the deterrence of your Phoenix Lake is really not that great? Or is it that your deterrence is not enough? Bu Fifan's words made Huang Qixuan so angry that he gritted his teeth. However, he had no confidence in dealing with Bu Fifan. He could only turn his anger into a sharp killing intent towards Lu Ming. Kid, even if you kneel down and beg me now, you won't be able to get lost. You will pay the price for your words and actions. I will make you wish you were dead. Huang Qixuan said gloomily. Nonsense, don't talk nonsense. If you want to fight, hurry up. Lu Ming berated. Bu Fifan, Sun Chu, and the other geniuses from the other regions were stunned. Where did this hothead come from? He actually dared to speak to Huang Qixuan like this was simply courting death. Good, 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 very good. Huang Qixuan said good 3 times in a row. His voice was extremely gloomy and a terrifying aura rose from his body. Senior brother Huang, there's no need for you to deal with this kind of trash personally. I'm more than enough to deal with him. At this moment, a youth with triangular eyes walked out from the Phoenix Lake area and called out. This guy is taking the opportunity to flatter senior brother Huang again. Someone whispered in the Phoenix Lake area. When the voice reached the triangular-eyed young man's ears, he chuckled and didn't care at all. No need, I'll do it myself. I'll make him regret every single word he said. Huang Qixuan waved his hand and the triangular-eyed youth retreated. The triangular-eyed young man sighed helplessly. It was a pity that he had missed this opportunity. Kid, you have a sharp tongue. I'd like to see what you're capable of. Buzz. As soon as he finished speaking, Huang Qixuan's figure moved like lightning. He was so fast that he was in front of Lu Ming in an instant and clawed at him. However, he was fast, but Lu Ming was not slow either. The moment Huang Qixuan moved, the demon-subduing spear appeared in his hand and he stabbed at Huang Qixuan's palm. "You want to stop me? Break!" Huang Qixuan shouted coldly, and his claws burst with sharp claw light, grabbing at Lu Ming. Boom! The spear and the claw collided with each other, producing a violent boom. A shocking wave of air swept out, and Lu Ming and Huang Qixuan retreated at the same time. Each of them retreated 100 meters and stood in the air. What? That kid can actually block one of Qi Qixuan's moves. It looks like they're even. How is that possible? Could it be that this kid can fight Huang Qixuan? Impossible. This kid's combat strength may be good, but it's impossible for him to fight Huang Qixuan. If I'm not wrong, he didn't even use much strength just now, but that kid probably used 80 to 90% of his strength. Yes, that should be the case. The geniuses from the bigger regions were all discussing. Kid, so you have some strength. No wonder you're so arrogant. But if you think you can fight me with that, then you're wrong. I'll let you know how terrifying my true strength is. Huang Qixuan said coldly. His arms moved slightly and a pair of spirit weapon gloves appeared on his hands. At the same time, a powerful aura rushed out and a fiery red bird condensed above Huang Qixuan's head. The bird's entire body was fiery red, and there were red flames burning on it. Its tail was especially similar to the tail of the legendary phoenix. The phoenix-tailed bird was said to be a mutant with the bloodline of a true phoenix. It was extremely powerful. On the phoenix-tailed bird's body, there were 6 Esilavira meridian cycles that were shining with an extremely bright light. King level 6th rank bloodline. His bloodline exploded, causing his aura to reach its peak. Flying phoenix claw. Huang Qixuan's figure moved and his hand claw grabbed out. Chi-chi. Like the claws of a real phoenix, they swiped through the air, leaving a trail of cracks in the space, as if it was about to be torn apart. This claw also contained a perfect fire force, which was several times stronger than the previous one. Boom! Lu Ming also activated his second blood meridian and thrust his spear forward. The power of wind and fire merged and gathered, forming a thick spear ray. Boom! With a deafening boom, the two of them were forced back again. This move was evenly matched. How is that possible? Die! Huang Qixuan roared and his claws continued to claw out, almost tearing the space apart. It was really terrifying. Every claw caused the space to shake violently. Lu Ming held the long spear in his hand, fearlessly clashing with Huang Qixuan. Boom! Boom! The energy swept across the world, stirring up the wind and clouds. Buzz! Lu Ming dodged a claw ray and flew thousands of meters away, grabbing a mountain peak. With a loud explosion, the mountain peak exploded, turning into broken stones that flew everywhere. It was a terrifying sight. Whoosh! A ray of spear radiance flew out and pierced a deep hole with a diameter of 10 meters in the ground. Quickly retreat! The surrounding spectators were shocked and quickly retreated, afraid of being affected. Boom! Boom! The two of them exchanged more than 10 moves in a row, and it was difficult to determine the winner. Phoenix Wing Slash. At this time Huang Qixuan roared and his true qi boiled. With a shake of his arms, a pair of phoenix wings vaguely condensed on his arms. Whoosh! Huang Qixuan waved his hand and his phoenix wings were like heavenly blades, slashing down at Lu Ming. The power of the attack was much stronger than the flying phoenix claw. Die! Huang Qixuan laughed. Let's see who dies. 9 dragons trampling the heavens. Lu Ming took a step forward and a dragon's roar sounded. Instantly, the world seemed to have returned to the era of ancient divine beasts fighting for hegemony. Boom! The phoenix wing slash and the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps collided heavily. The space trembled violently like a piece of cloth, and violent energy shot out in all directions. The people who were watching the battle retreated frantically. There were only 3 people standing in the air motionless. They were Biu Fifan, Sun Chu and Xian Feng. The 3 of them released a powerful aura to resist the force. After the roar, Lu Ming and Huang Qixuan flew back again. They were equally matched again. It had to be said that Huang Qixuan was indeed extremely powerful. With a cultivation of the peak of the martial ancestor 8th realm, he had been through 4 battles. His battle power was enough to kill an ordinary half-step king. Lu Ming's cultivation was at the early stage of the 8th level martial arts grandmaster realm, and he could only fight to a draw with him. Lu Ming estimated that even if he used the heavenly path palm, he might not be able to defeat Nie Qixuan. As Lu Ming's physical body grew stronger, the power of the first step of the 9 dragons' heaven trampling steps was already infinitely close to that of the heavenly way palm. Chapter 408. 408 Entering the Dragon's Cave and Fighting. Who are you? Oh! Huang Qixuan roared. Lu Ming was only surprised, but Huang Qixuan's heart was in turmoil. It was too shocking. Lu Ming was able to fight to a draw with him. He even suspected that Lu Ming was the strongest person in a certain super area. Not only Huang Qixuan but the people who were watching the battle were also stunned. They originally thought that Lu Ming was definitely not Huang Qixuan's opponent. They thought that Lu Ming was overestimating his own ability and was courting death. However, the truth was like a tight slap to their faces. Not only was Lu Ming powerful, he was not weaker than Huang Qixuan. He was a genius on the same level as Huang Qixuan. They were so shocked that their jaws almost dropped. Bu Fifan, Sun Chu and even Xian Feng, who had been expressionless all this while, looked at Lu Ming with a grave expression. Clearly, Lu Ming's ability had attracted their attention. Especially the triangular-eyed young man in the Phoenix Lake area. He was covered in cold sweat and his body was trembling in fear. Just now, he had wanted to deal with Lu Ming. If he had really made a move, he would not even know how he died. When he thought of this, he felt a lingering fear. Who am I? You don't have the right to know. Lu Ming sneered. You're pretending to be mysterious. Watch how I kill you. Huang Qixuan let out a long roar and with a wave of his arms, the phoenix spread its wings, bringing with it a gust of wind and a hot aura filled the world. Boom! 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 At this moment, a loud rumbling sound came from the lake. The dragon mountain's mouth seemed to have increased its suction force, and the water in the lake was frantically pouring into the dragon's mouth. There wasn't much water left in the lake, and at this moment, the bottom of the lake was quickly seen. Ah! Look, the bottom of the lake is actually empty. Someone exclaimed. It's really empty. Amazing. The bottom of the lake is empty. Why is there water? Amazing, it's too amazing. Dragon's Lair. This is the dragon's lair. The dwelling place of the true dragon. Some of the people who were close to the lake cried out in surprise. Now you're lucky. I'll spare your life today. Huang Qixuan's eyes flashed as he stared at Lu Ming coldly. Spare my life? Aren't you afraid of twisting your tongue? It's still not certain who will kill who? Lu Ming gave a contemptuous smile. Huang Qixuan's face turned gloomy. He really wanted to have a big fight with Lu Ming, but he was afraid of missing the dragon's cave. Kid, just you wait. He snorted. Then, he led the people of Phoenix Lake and flew toward the surface of the lake. Lu Ming smiled faintly and flew toward the lake. His thoughts were similar to Huang Qixuan's. If the two of them were to have a life and death battle, it would be difficult to determine the winner in a short period of time. Then they would have missed the dragon's cave. Lu Ming was secretly surprised when he flew in to take a look. At this time, the water in the lake was getting less and less, revealing a huge dark cave below. That's right, this lake wasn't a lake at all, but the entrance of a huge cave. The lake water from before was actually just floating at the entrance of the cave, making it look like a lake. When the lake water was sucked dry, its true appearance was revealed. In just a dozen breaths, the water in the lake was completely sucked dry, and the huge cave was completely exposed. The diameter of the cave was at least a few thousand meters wide. It was pitch black below. With everyone's eyesight, they could only see a distance of 1 or 2,000 meters. Anything further down could not be seen clearly. It was unknown how deep the cave was, but it seemed to lead to the abyss of hell. Charge! Someone moved and flew towards the cave. Oh! He was safe and sound. With someone taking the lead, the others naturally rushed in like a swarm of bees. There were more than 100 people in the 3 super regions, but all of them were terrifying geniuses. The weaker ones probably didn't come. Otherwise, it was impossible for a super region to have so few people. Even the Cloud Emperor mountain range had 98 people. The largest number of people were those from the larger regions. In total, there were no less than 500 people. More than 600 people flew towards the huge cave. Lu Ming did not hesitate. He followed the crowd and rushed down. The cave was too big. They had flown down for at least 10,000 meters. At this time, the cave did not go straight down but slanted. Boom! Boom! Suddenly, a huge battle broke out on the wall of the cave. Get lost, the dragon's saliva is mine. Who said it's yours? I was the one who discovered it first. Buzz! Buzz! The sound of metal clashing rang out. Ah! The next moment a scream was heard. One of them was killed. Lu Ming's eyes were sharp. He saw a young man plucking a green spiritual herb from the wall of the cave. Dragon's saliva. It's really dragon's saliva. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The dragon's saliva was said to be the saliva of a true dragon. It was a spiritual herb that had grown over a long period of time. It contained the aura of a true dragon and was extremely precious. It seemed that there really was a true dragon's dwelling here in the distant past. There's one here too. Someone exclaimed. It's mine. You're courting death. You think you can get the dragon grass? A great battle erupted, and the slaughter began. Ah! Ah! Suddenly screams rose and fell. Huang Qishuan's figure flashed and 5 to 6 young experts had their hearts crushed by him. A bunch of trash. How dare you think of getting the dragon's saliva? Die! Huang Qishuan said coldly. Go, whoever sees the dragon's saliva, sees it. Huang Qishuan instructed the experts of Phoenix Lake. Yes. Immediately, the dozens of masters of Phoenix Lake scattered and flew to different parts of the cave. It was not only the Phoenix Lake, but also the people in the Yangshuan Valley area and the Red Flame Mountain area. Detestable! Some of the experts from the larger regions roared. Before entering the Dragon's Cave, the reason why Huang Qishuan and the others let people from large areas in was that they were afraid that people from large areas would join forces. After all, there were geniuses above the 8th level of the martial ancestor realm in every large region. Once they joined forces, they would be a terrifying force. But now that they had entered the Dragon's Cave, everyone was thinking about treasure hunting and doing things their own way. How could they still join forces? Huang Qishuan and the others were naturally unscrupulous. In the cave, treasure snatching, killing, and screams could be heard from time to time. 2 stalks of dragon's saliva. Lu Ming saw 2 green spiritual herbs on the stone wall of a cave. They were dragon saliva grass. His figure moved and he rushed over. On the side, there were others who saw him, but they didn't dare to snatch it from him. Lu Ming waved his hand and kept the 2 dragons' saliva. He continued to fly along the walls of the cave. Die! In front of them, a genius from Phoenix Lake had killed a young man with a single strike. He was so ecstatic that he was about to pluck a stalk of dragon's saliva from the wall. Buzz! Lu Ming rushed over and used his essential qi to pluck the dragon's saliva and put it away. You! The young man from Phoenix Lake shouted angrily. However, when he saw that it was Lu Ming, he immediately swallowed his words. He unwillingly retreated. After more than 10 minutes, they had flown another tens of thousands of meters. 3 caves suddenly appeared in front of them. The cave split open. Buzz! Buzz! The group randomly chose a cave and flew in. Each cave had more than 100 people. At least 100 people had been killed along the way. Of the 600 people, there was a sharp decrease of 500. Lu Ming chose the cave on the left and flew along the stone wall. Wait, that's the dragon blood flower. Suddenly, Lu Ming saw a patch of bright red spiritual flowers in a pit in the stone wall. Chapter 409. 409 hit him in the face. In the pit, there was a patch of bright red flowers. These flowers were actually in the shape of a dragon. It was as if a small dragon was soaring in the sky, and it was extremely lifelike. Oh, this was a dragon's blood flower. It was said that it could only grow when the blood of a true dragon was spilled. It was many times more precious than dragon saliva grass. Lu Ming was overjoyed. With these dragon blood flowers, Lu Ming's true war dragon technique would probably advance to the next level. Buzz! All of a sudden, an extremely sharp force slashed at Lu Ming. It was Huang Qixuan. At that moment, his eyes were cold as he slashed his phoenix wings at Lu Ming. 9 dragons trampling the heavens. Lu Ming took a step forward without hesitation. Bang! Huang Qixuan's body flew out, while Lu Ming hit the wall. Buzz! Buzz! Lu Ming's hands moved quickly, plucking more than 10 dragon blood flowers and storing them in the supreme shrine. Humph! Seeing Lu Ming put away the dragon blood flower, Huang Qixuan snorted coldly and turned to leave. A cold glint flashed in Lu Ming's eyes and a murderous intent appeared at the corner of his mouth. Then he continued to move forward along the cave. This cave was still very wide, and it was definitely a place where true dragons could enter and exit. Suddenly there was a commotion ahead. A bone is embedded here. Could this be a dragon bone? Haha, it's mine. You're looking for death. Instantly a loud boom and battle cries could be heard. Dragon bones? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat, and he flew rapidly in that direction. If it really was a dragon bone, its value would be terrifying. It was much more valuable than dragon saliva grass and dragon blood flower. Phoenix Lake, Huang Qixuan, you're despicable. Achoo! Before Lu Ming arrived, he could already hear angry roars and screams. Lu Ming turned into a flash of lightning and crossed several miles in an instant. On the wall in front of him, a bone sun the size of a water tank was embedded in the stone wall. The bone armor was crystal clear like jade, full of holy qi, and exuded a terrifying essence qi fluctuation. Huang Qixuan led 5 or 6 masters of Phoenix Lake and killed more than a dozen young men from other areas. Haha, the dragon bone is mine. Huang Qixuan laughed. He reached out to grab the dragon bone and pulled it out, but the dragon bone did not move at all. So tight? Again. Just as Huang Qixuan was about to use all his strength to pull out the dragon bone. Boom! Lu Ming arrived and kicked instinctively. 9 dragons heaven-stomping steps. Damn it! Huang Qixuan was shocked and quickly abandoned the dragon bone, using the phoenix wing slash. The other young men from Phoenix Lake also used their unique skills to block Lu Ming's attack. Boom! Huang Qixuan's body trembled slightly. For the other masters of Phoenix Lake, his face turned pale and he almost spat out blood. However, Lu Ming also retreated rapidly. Other than Huang Qixuan, the other 6 people in Phoenix Lake were all in the 8th grade of martial ancestor realm. Furthermore, they were all battle-hardened. Together, they were extremely powerful. Brat, it's you again. The dragon bone is mine, you want to fight for it? You're looking for death. Huang Qixuan roared. Yours? This is a dragon's den. When did it become yours? Lu Ming sneered. Fine, since you're looking for death, I'll fulfill your wish. Let's attack together and kill him. Huang Qixuan roared. Then the phoenix wing slash was slashed out. The other 6 Phoenix Lake experts also unleashed their ultimate moves and charged toward Lu Ming. Heaven's Path Palm. Lu Ming struck out with his palm. A huge palm print was formed and blasted toward the people of Phoenix Lake. Boom! A huge explosion shook the dragon cave and energy spread out. However, the surroundings of the dragon's cave were extremely hard. Even with their strength that could destroy a mountain, they could only knock down a few rocks on the cave's stone walls. Bang! The heaven path palm print was pierced through. Huang Qixuan and the others' bodies only swayed slightly before they continued to attack Lu Ming. Brat, you will die today. Huang Qixuan's eyes were cold. You're bullying me with numbers, right? Do you think I'm afraid of you guys? Dan, smash it. Lu Ming gently patted the stone egg hanging on his hair. Dandan. This was the name Lu Ming had randomly given the stone egg. Immediately, the stone egg trembled slightly, spun, and turned into the size of a human head. With a swoosh, it rushed toward one of the masters of Phoenix Lake. Break! The master of Phoenix Lake struck out with his claw, and the claw radiance was shocking. However, he was stunned the next moment. He completely ignored the claw radiance and rushed past it. Then, He bounced up and smashed directly at the nose of the Phoenix Lake Master. Bang! Gotcha! This time it hit him hard, and the sound of bones breaking immediately rang out. Then there was a shrill scream. Lu Ming realized that it was really terrible. The bridge of his nose had completely caved in. His bones were shattered and his flesh was a mess. He could not even recognize his mother. Buzz! Dandan flew back and jumped up and down in front of Lu Ming, as if she was very excited. Huang Qixuan and the others were dumbfounded. Damn it, what are you using? How dare you sneak attack me? Despicable! Huang Qixuan roared. Despicable? Huang Qixuan, you scumbag, you're actually talking to me about despicable, you're not worthy. Lu Ming shouted coldly. Damn it, kill! Huang Qixuan roared. Dandan, smash! Lu Ming said. Dandan jumped up in excitement, spun around and flew forward with a swoosh. Block it, smash it! Huang Qixuan roared and struck out his strongest blow. The others were the same. However, it was useless. Dandan completely ignored these attacks and rushed past. Bang! Another young man from Phoenix Lake was smashed in the face. Instantly, the sound of bones breaking and a shrill cry of pain sounded. This young man had also followed in the footsteps of the person before him. His nose and mouth had all caved in. It was unrecognizable. It was a terrible sight. Although he was not dead, he could not use much of his combat strength. Hiss hiss hiss. The remaining young men of Phoenix Lake gasped. Looking at the miserable state of the two young men, their teeth were chattering and they felt a chill down their backs. Who's next? Lu Ming's eyes started to look around. Damn it, this stone egg is not afraid of energy attacks. Use weapons. Huang Qixuan roared. Oh really? Then it's you, Huang Qixuan. Lu Ming pointed at him. Buzz! Dandan directly flew out. Get lost! Huang Qixuan wore his spirit weapon gloves and his claws grabbed towards Dandan. Just as she was about to catch Dandan, she bounced up, changed direction and smashed towards Huang Qixuan. Ah! Huang Qixuan roared and quickly retreated. She tried her best to protect her face with her hands, but she was still too late. Bang! It hit his face accurately. A blood-curdling scream was accompanied by a furious roar. Huang Qixuan's claws waved and at the moment when Dandan hit him, he also hit Dandan. Bang! Dandan was sent flying. She changed her direction halfway and flew back to Lu Ming's side. She bounced here and there, seemingly a little unhappy. Lu Ming looked at Huang Qixuan. Although Huang Qixuan was hit, he was not as miserable as the others, but he did not feel good either. His nose was completely crooked, and a few of his teeth had fallen out, causing blood to flow out. He was in such a sorry state. Huang Qixuan roared again and again. Someone passed by not far away and was dumbfounded. Huang Qixuan and the others were actually beaten up so badly? Chapter 4:10. For 10 dragon bone in hand. What are you shouting for? Continue Heaven's Path palm. Oh! Lu Ming struck out with his palm, and the Heaven's Path palm print blasted forward. At the same time, Dandan followed the palm print of the heavenly Tao and rushed forward. Huang Qixuan and the others' faces turned green. He had to block the Heaven Path palm print on one hand and defend against Dandan on the other. How was he going to fight? You guys blocked the palm print. Huang Qixuan shouted. He really didn't dare to be distracted, or else he would be hit by Dandan. Boom! The other masters of Phoenix Lake worked together to resist the palm print, while Huang Qixuan stared at Dandan. The palm force rumbled. Without Huang Qixuan, the experts of Phoenix Lake could not withstand Lu Ming's palm force at all. Each and every one of them trembled and coughed up blood. At the same time, Dandan also rushed in and smashed towards Huang Qixuan. This time Huang Qixuan was even more miserable. Although he tried his best to resist, he was still heavily smashed. This time all his teeth were smashed out. His mouth was in a mess and his nose collapsed. His originally handsome face instantly turned into a pile of dog shit. Live goo, live goo! Huang Qixuan roared, but because his mouth was full of holes, he originally wanted to say I, but in the end he said live. Buzz! Dandan flew back and jumped up and down on Lu Ming's shoulder. Lu Ming felt that this guy was very excited. Get go! Huang Qishuan's mouth was leaking air as he roared. Now he no longer cared about the dragon bone. If he stayed any longer, he was afraid that he would be crushed to death by the stone egg. With an angry roar, he turned around and ran away with the people of Phoenix Lake. However, the grievance in his heart was needless to mention. Ha ha ha! Take care, I won't send you off. Lu Ming laughed heartily. Huang Qishan and the others almost spat out another mouthful of blood. In the distance, when the others saw this scene, they could only feel their eyelids twitching non-stop. They secretly warned them Slaviers not to provoke the ruthless Lu Ming. Lu Ming came to the stone wall and sized up the dragon bones. The dragon bone was as white as jade and crystal clear. One side of it was embedded in the stone wall, and the other side was exposed. What was exposed outside was about the thickness of a water tank and a meter long. He could clearly feel the surging essence qi in the bone banner. This might really be a dragon bone. Otherwise, it would still contain such dense spiritual essence even after so many years. Lu Ming's eyes were sparkling. With this dragon bone, his true war dragon technique might be able to advance by a few steps. Lu Ming then grabbed the dragon bone with both hands and pulled it out with all his might. Gotcha! The stone wall made a cracking sound, but it was not pulled out. Again! Lu Ming growled. The muscles in his body bulged, and his physical strength exploded to the maximum. At the same time, the true war dragon technique was fully activated. Lu Ming stepped on the wall, hugged the dragon bone with both hands, and pulled it out with all his might. Bang! Bang! The stone wall under Lu Ming's feet exploded. However, the dragon bone loosened and was slowly pulled out. With a final bang, the entire dragon bone was pulled out. It was a bone that was 3 meters long and as thick as a water tank. However, the deeper it went, the thinner it became. It looks like a finger bone. Lu Ming sized it up curiously. It looked like a finger bone of a true dragon. Great harvest, what a great harvest! Lu Ming grinned and kept the finger bone in the supreme shrine. Not far away, the others were watching enviously, but no one dared to step forward to fight for it. What a joke! Didn't they see that even the geniuses of Phoenix Lake had been beaten up so badly? After keeping the dragon bones, Lu Ming continued to move forward. They didn't come across any precious treasures along the way. After about 10 miles, there was light in front. That's a huge underground cave. That's the true dragon's dwelling place. Charge, charge! Immediately, everyone's hearts burned with excitement as they rushed towards the light. Buzz! Lu Ming rushed out of the cave and appeared in an extremely wide underground cave. The underground cave was too wide. It was more than 10 miles in both length and width and several thousand meters in height. The walls of the cave were inlaid with luminous stones that illuminated the cave. Buzz! Buzz! The sound of something breaking through the air rang out continuously. At this moment, Lu Ming noticed that there were 2 huge holes in the surrounding walls. Figures were flying in one after another. It was Biu Fifan from the Flaming Mountain Range, and Sun Chu from the Yang Spring Valley. They had split into 3 paths before, and they had entered the other 2 paths. It turned out that this was the final destination. This is the true dragon's final resting place. There must be supreme treasures here. There's a jade bed over there. It's so big. After the commotion, most of the people flew towards the center of the underground cave. Because there was a huge jade bed there about 100 meters in length and width, it was extremely shocking. You ants, get lost! Boom! A burning aura burst out from Biu Fifan's body. He slashed out a huge flaming saber light, and a dozen young men were killed. Quick! Avoid the people from the super area. Those in the larger regions were shocked and dodged. Haha, kill! Bu Fifan laughed. He took the lead and slashed with his flaming saber. No one could withstand his attack. On the other side, Sun Chu was also rushing forward. Buzz! A sword radiance streaked across the sky. Xian Feng stepped on the sword radiance and the people around him avoided him. Get lost! Huang Qishuan's mouth was filled with air as he shouted and rushed forward with the people of Phoenix Lake. Almost everyone's target was the jade bed. Arg! What was that? A scale that's a dragon scale? Someone exclaimed. In the middle of the jade bed there was a scale. This scale was very special. It was actually flashing with 3 different lights. It was the size of a water tank and was filled with a powerful dragon aura. It was definitely a dragon scale. A true dragon scale was definitely a supreme treasure. Kill, it's mine. Sun Chu roared. Sun Chu, you wish. The dragon scale is mine. Bu Fifan shouted. Boom! Boom! Immediately a great battle broke out. As long as someone rushed forward, they would all be caught in a great battle. Screams rang out continuously. In almost an instant hundreds of people were killed. The smell of blood filled the air, and corpses covered the ground. Boom! Sun Chu, Bu Fifan, Xian Feng, Huang Qixian, the 4 experts were in a chaotic battle. No one wanted the other to get the dragon scale. Lu Ming did not move. His gaze was not on the jade bed but the depths of the cave. There were stone walls on all 3 sides of the cave, and there were luminous stones on the stone walls. Only that direction was pitch black. It wasn't a stone wall but seemed to be empty, with wisps of black mist permeating. When Lu Ming entered this place, he felt that the 9 dragon bloodlines were unusually agitated, as if they were very eager to go in that direction. Yes, very much so. What was in that direction? Lu Ming was extremely curious. Let's not worry about it for now. We'll talk after we get the dragon's scale. Immediately after, Lu Ming's figure moved and he pounced toward the dragon scale. Brat, don't even think about it. Stop right there. Just as he was about to approach the dragon's scale, 2 terrifying attacks were directed at Lu Ming. It was a phoenix wing and a flaming blade. It was Huang Qixian and Bu Fifan who had attacked him. Both of their attacks were extremely terrifying. Lu Ming could not ignore them. He could only block them with all his might, but his figure was blocked. Chapter 411. 411 Conspiracy, Dragon Burial Abyss. Buzz. Buzz. Oh. In a flash, Lu Ming, Huang Qixian, Xian Feng, Bu Fifan, and Sun Chu stood in the void, confronting each other and stopping for a while. The others were still fighting. Huang Qixian, you're getting bolder, aren't you? Do you want to get beaten up again? Lu Ming looked at Huang Qixian unhappily. Kid, don't be so arrogant. Huang Qixian said coldly. He condensed his genuine qi to replace his teeth to avoid the awkwardness of a slip in his speech. At the side, Bu Fifan and Sun Chu looked at Lu Ming with grave expressions. Huang Qixian's miserable state, of course they had discovered it. Could it be that he was beaten by Lu Ming? If that was the case, they had to re-examine Lu Ming. Everyone, this brat is very insidious. He has a kind of hidden weapon that is impossible to guard against. I was ambushed by his hidden weapon. I suggest that we work together to kill this brat first, then we can fight for the dragon scale. Huang Qixian said coldly. Hee, really? Lu Ming suddenly patted Dandan. Buzz. It flew out and smashed towards Huang Qixian. What are you fucking for? Huang Qixian roared. He was so angry that he was bleeding internally. Lu Ming did not play his cards according to common sense. He could not win the argument and immediately took action. What kind of thing was this? Huang Qixian burst out with all his strength and desperately resisted. But dash. Bang. He was still smashed in the face by Dandan. His face, which had been slightly better, had turned into dog shit again. Arg. Ah fuck. Huang Qixian shouted like he had gone crazy, almost losing his mind. Having his face smashed so many times, Huang Qixian felt like he was going crazy. Hiss. Bu Fifan, Sun Chu and the others all gasped. Lu Ming's stone egg was too strange. It appeared and disappeared unpredictably, and could ignore all kinds of energy attacks. It was impossible to guard against it. When they looked at Lu Ming, their gazes were extremely solemn. Everyone, now that Huang Qixian is injured, his combat power has been greatly reduced. Why don't we join forces and kill Huang Qixian first? That way we will have one less competitor. Lu Ming said loudly. Sun Chu, Bu Fifan and the others couldn't help but look at Huang Qixian. Lu Ming was right. The situation would be clearer if they killed one person first. As for killing Lu Ming, although they wanted to do so, they did not have the guts to do so. If they were hit by Lu Ming's stone egg, it would not be good. Being stared at by a few people, Huang Qixian felt a chill run down his spine. He screamed and retreated 100 meters, looking at Bu Fifan, Lu Ming, and the others cautiously. Lu Ming's eyes were extremely unfriendly. He really wanted to find an opportunity to get rid of Huang Qixian. Arg! What the hell is this? Help! At this moment, someone among the people who were fighting suddenly cried out in fear. Lu Ming and the group were shocked and could not help but look over. Wisps of bloody qi rose from the surroundings of the underground cave. The bloody qi rose and the smell of blood assailed their nostrils. On the ground, strange patterns had appeared out of nowhere. Shockingly, blood-red tentacles stretched out from the ground and wrapped around some of the experts. The experts struggled with all their might, but they were unable to break free. They were tightly bound by the blood-red tentacles. Arg! Ah, my blood! The people who were entangled screamed in horror because their blood was being sucked away by the tentacles. In just a dozen breaths, a dozen people had been sucked dry and died an unnatural death. Everyone felt a chill run down their spine, and their teeth chattered. They thought of the large number of corpses they had seen outside before they entered the dragon's cave. Those corpses had also been sucked dry of their blood, just like the situation in front of them. How did this happen? What was it? Buzz! Buzz! The patterns on the ground glowed, and the number of tentacles grew. More people were entangled. Run, run! This is Devil Earth. Run! Many people screamed in fear and turned to run. Let's go, we'll also leave this place. Bu Fifan, Sun Chu, and the others gritted their teeth and gave the order to retreat. Although the dragon scale was precious, one needed to be alive to use it. This place was too strange. If he were to leave it here and lose his life, it would not be worth it. Today, none of you will be able to leave. At this moment, an eerie voice sounded. Buzz! Buzz! On the walls of the underground cave, figures suddenly appeared. These figures were dressed in black robes and had been hiding in the pits on the walls. No one had noticed them. There were about 100 of them. As soon as they appeared, they shot out beams of light from their hands into the ground. The patterns on the ground glowed brightly. And NBSP. Then more blood-colored tentacles emerged from the ground, blocking everyone's path of retreat. There were at least a few thousand tentacles that were waving wildly, trying to wrap around the group. This time, 50 to 60 people were wrapped up by the tentacles. They screamed in fear as their blood was sucked dry. After their blood was sucked dry, even more tentacles came out of the ground. This is an inscription formation. Who are you? Bu Fifan swung his saber, and a burning saber light cut off 5 or 6 tentacles. However, the tentacles that were cut off quickly grew back. How can you break the grand burial array that we've worked so hard to set up? The cold voice rang out again. From the direction of the darkness, a young man in a blood-red robe walked out. A lifelike blood dragon was embroidered on the blood robe. The young man's face was extremely pale, and he looked extremely sinister. Speak, who are you? Bu Fifan shouted. Since you're going to die here today, there's no harm in telling you. We're from the dragon burial abyss. The blood-robed youth smiled. What? Are you guys from the dragon burial abyss? Bu Fifan and the others exclaimed in disbelief. It wasn't that the other party was very strong. On the contrary, the dragon burial abyss had always been very mysterious, just like the ancient barren city. However, from time to time, a peerless expert would walk out of the ancient barren city. However, the dragon burial abyss was different. There were very few experts who came out from it. In the past, there had never been any geniuses from the dragon burial abyss who participated in the selection of the Empyrean Heaven's divine guards. Therefore, no one understood the true strength of the dragon burial abyss. It was just roughly classified as a large area. This time, not only did the people from the dragon burial abyss appear, they had even set up a huge formation to kill them. It was no wonder that they were so shocked. Impossible? How did you guys get in? Sun Chu shouted. When they entered, They clearly did not see anyone from the dragon burial abyss. Furthermore, from what the blood-robed youth said, they seemed to have set up the formation a long time ago. How naive. Do you think there's only one entrance to the dragon's den? The blood-robed youth sneered. Let me tell you, the reason why the dragon's den appeared was also because of us. We deciphered the inscriptions of the dragon's den in order to attract geniuses like you. As long as I kill you and absorb your blood, my dragon's devouring divine technique will be completed. I'll definitely become one of the 4 heavens divine guards in this time's Diqian divine guard selection, and lead the dragon burial abyss to the peak. Ha ha ha. The blood-robed youth laughed. Chapter 412. 412. Only 4 people left. Trap. Everything was a trap. Oh. Everyone finally understood that this was all a trap set up by the people of the dragon burial abyss. Although he did not know what method the people in the dragon burial abyss had used, the dragon's lair had appeared because of them. The reason was that this genius from the dragon burial abyss wanted to use their blood to cultivate his divine skill. You want my blood? Dream on. Huang Qixian roared, his arms shook and he used the scarlet slash. With one strike, more than a dozen tentacles were cut off. Unfortunately, it was useless. The tentacles would form immediately. Haha, it's no use. The plan I've set up is foolproof. You can just wait for your death. The blood-robed youth sneered. Let's join forces and charge in the same direction. Xian Feng, who had been silent all this while, finally spoke. All right, I agree. I also agree. Bu Fifan and Sun Chu both nodded. Lu Ming also nodded. All right, then let's charge. Huang Qixian roared and used Phoenix Wing Slash, rushing in the direction of the exit. Buzz. Whoosh. Sword light, saber light, fist force, spear light. They gathered together and rushed towards the exit. In an instant, more than 100 tentacles were destroyed. Before the tentacles could recover, they had already covered a distance of a few hundred meters. Use all your power to control the formation and stop them. The blood-robed youth's expression changed as he shouted angrily. The 100 or so young men from the dragon burial pool shouted in unison. Their true chi surged and runes appeared in their hands, which were then plunged into the ground. Instantly, more tentacles rushed out from the area surrounding Lu Ming and the others. They were densely packed and kept winding around them. Even if they worked together, they wouldn't be able to get out. Kill. Die. The blood-robed young man shouted coldly and rushed into the formation. His body technique was like a ghost, flashing among the tentacles, but the tentacles ignored him. Die. The blood-robed youth's claw was as red as blood and his target was Huang Qixian. Huang Qixian was obviously injured, so he had to deal with him first. Huang Qixian roared and used the Phoenix Wing Slash, clashing with the blood-robed youth's claw. Boom! Huang Qixian's body trembled and he staggered back. The blood-robed young man's body flashed and disappeared into the blood-red tentacles. Bu Fifan and the others wanted to help, but they were too late. Buzz! Buzz! In a few flashes, the blood-robed young man appeared behind Huang Qixian. His blood-red claws, like the claws of a blood dragon, grabbed at Huang Qixian. Huang Qixian fought back with all his might. It had to be said that the blood-robed youth's own strength was extremely terrifying, no weaker than Huang Qixian at his peak. Huang Qixian was no match for him at all, and with the tentacles wrapping around him, Huang Qixian was completely at a disadvantage. After a few consecutive moves, Huang Qixian's body shook violently and he spat out a mouthful of blood. At this moment, a tentacle wrapped around Huang Qixian. Break! Huang Qixian roared and struggled with all his might, but he could only break free from a few tentacles. Around him there were more tentacles that wrapped around him. No, save me! Huang Qixian panicked and shouted in horror. Slash! Slash! Bu Fifan, Sun Chu, and the others used all their strength to save him. Usually they would wish for the other party to die, but now they were all in the same boat. One less person meant one less force. If you still want to save him, take care of yourself first. The blood-robed youth sneered. His figure flashed and rushed towards Bu Fifan, exchanging a few moves with him, neither of them winning. Ah! Huang Qixian screamed. His body was rapidly shriveling and his blood was being sucked out. Save me, save me! Huang Qixian roared, full of unwillingness and fear. After a few breaths, his screams stopped abruptly, and he turned into a dried corpse. Huang Qixian, the strongest person in a super region, a rare 4-battle genius, died in this place, turning into a dry corpse. Ah! Ah! Screams kept coming from all directions. At this time, less than 100 of the hundreds of people had died. Most of the blood of the young experts had been absorbed. After absorbing the blood of so many young geniuses, the power of the Grand Burial Array had become even more terrifying. The entire cave was filled with blood-red tentacles. At this moment, the tentacles were actually merging together. The power of the tentacles was even more terrifying. Even Lu Ming and the group found it difficult to defeat them. As for the remaining 100 or so young men, they were wrapped up by the tentacles in just a few breaths. Miserable shrieks continued to ring out as the Grand Burial Formation became even more frenzied. Only Lu Ming, Bu Fifan, Sun Chu, and Xianfeng were left in the formation. At this moment, Bu Fifan and Sun Chu were terrified. Lu Ming frowned while Xianfeng's face was cold. Haha, only the 4 of you are left. All of you can die. The blood-robed youth laughed. 9 dragons trampling the heavens. Suddenly, Lu Ming turned around and took a step forward. This step was not in the direction of the exit, but in the opposite direction of the exit, in the direction of the pitch-black darkness. Boom! The 7 to 8 tentacles crumbled. Lu Ming rushed forward and whipped out his long spear. The power of wind and fire combined and destroyed the 3 tentacles that were coming at him. What are you doing? Bu Fifan roared. At the critical moment, Lu Ming actually dashed in the opposite direction. It was fine if he was courting death, but their strength had been weakened. Sun Chu's expression was also extremely ugly. Only Xianfeng's expression did not change. Even the blood-robed youth was stunned. Is this kid stupid? The blood-robed youth sneered. Heaven's path palm. Lu Ming did not say a word and continued to rush inside. Don't worry about that kid, we'll charge at full speed. Bu Fifan shouted angrily. The 3 of them worked together and kept charging outside. Humph, that brat is charging in. That's a dangerous place and only death awaits him. Use all your power to control the formation and deal with those 3 people. The blood-robed youth instructed. At that moment, more than 100 young men from the Dragon Burial Pool controlled the Grand Formation and sent more tentacles towards Bu Fifan and the others. In this way, the number of tentacles in front of Lu Ming decreased by several times and the pressure was greatly reduced. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming blasted out a few Heaven's Path palm prints in a row, crushing a large number of tentacles in front of him. Lu Ming charged forward at top speed. Lu Ming was about to rush out of the array and enter the dark place. The blood-robed youth's eyes flashed as he muttered, "No, this kid's behavior is strange. He might have something to rely on. Stop him first." In a flash, the blood-robed young man's body was like a ghost. With a few flashes, he appeared in front of Lu Ming. "Stay here." The blood-robed young man shouted coldly and his blood-red claw reached out to grab Lu Ming. The strong wind whistled and was filled with the smell of blood. Whoosh! Lu Ming thrust his long spear forward and it collided with the blood-red claw radiance. A powerful force surged forth and Lu Ming could not help but take 2 steps back. Get lost! Lu Ming shouted and took a step forward. I've said it before, none of you can leave the formation. All of you will become my nourishment and help me cultivate the divine technique. The blood-robed young man shouted coldly. He struck out with his blood-red claw and collided with Lu Ming's foot. Then the 2 of them took 3 steps back. Dandan! Lu Ming suddenly patted the stone egg. Buzz! Dandan turned around and turned into the size of a human head, flying forward. Chapter 413. For 13 Under the Abyss. As soon as Dandan rushed out, the tentacles around her wrapped around her. Oh, humph, in this formation I have the final say. Whatever methods you use are just a waste of time, goo. At first, the blood-robed young man snorted coldly and was calm and composed. However, the next moment he screamed in panic. because Dandan completely ignored those tentacles and went through them, directly smashing towards the blood-robed young man's face. The blood-robed youth dodged with all his might, but in the end he died. Bang! Blood spurted out as the blood-robed youth's face was smashed into a pile of dog shit. Ah! The blood-robed young man roared. His figure flashed and he kept his distance from Lu Ming. He roared, "Damn it! Damn it! Take control of the grand formation and kill him!" Walala! A portion of the tentacles swarmed toward Lu Ming. "Hurry, hurry, hurry!" Lu Ming burst out with all his strength and rushed forward with all his might. The heavenly path palm and the 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps were executed in succession. Before, because most of the tentacles had been used to deal with Bu Fifan and the other two, his tentacles were relatively weak, and he immediately blasted a passage. Bang! 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 The tentacles exploded and Lu Ming dashed thousands of meters away in an instant. He was already close to the pitch-black area. When he got closer, he saw an abyss. The other end of the cave was actually an abyss. The abyss was pitch-black and it was impossible to see how deep it was. Black mist filled the air, making it look extremely terrifying. Whoosh whoosh! The tentacles swarmed toward Lu Ming in a frenzy. They were many times more concentrated than before. Brat, go to hell! The blood-robed youth's eyes were extremely cold. Hee hee! Lu Ming sneered and kicked out. The last tentacles in front of him were directly crushed by him. Then he leaped and jumped into the abyss. Damn it! The blood-robed young man's figure flashed and appeared beside the abyss. He looked at the abyss with fear, but he did not dare to pursue. Buzz! Buzz! 2 black-robed figures appeared beside the blood-robed youth. Eldest senior brother, what should we do? This guy jumped into the abyss. Should we pursue him? One of the black-robed men asked. No need. This abyss is the most dangerous place in a dragon's Denver. Even if I cultivate the dragon's devour divine technique, I'll still die if I go in. This guy will definitely die if he jumps in. It's just that it's too easy for him to die in the abyss. The blood-robed youth said coldly. Now attack with all your might and kill the 3 of them. The blood-robed young man pointed at Bu Fifan and the other 2. Yes. Yes, the black-robed man replied and used all his strength to control the formation. Oh! Lu Ming had no idea what was going on above. He jumped into the abyss and suddenly felt a strong force sweeping over him. His body could not help but fall rapidly. Gusts of wind blew past his ears, and black mist surrounded him. Through the black mist, Lu Ming realized that the abyss was very wide. It was also very deep. Lu Ming fell for at least tens of thousands of meters before he felt his body lighten. The force disappeared and he could fly in the air again. Lu Ming circulated his essential qi and stopped his fall. He slowly floated down. After about 1,000 meters, they finally reached the bottom. Gotcha! When Lu Ming stepped on the ground, there was a cracking sound. Lu Ming lowered his head and was slightly shocked. On the ground there were white bones. Human bones. Lu Ming took a glance and gasped. The ground was covered in white bones. It was unknown how many of them were there. Moreover, they were all in human form. Could it be that all the human warriors who have entered this place for countless years have turned into white bones? Lu Ming thought to himself, and his heart could not help but turn heavy. He focused his attention and observed his surroundings at all times. The surroundings were completely silent. There was not a single sound. Coupled with the white bones on the ground, Lu Ming seemed to have come to the abyss of hell. The bloodline of the 9 dragons is extremely excited about this place. There must be something here that is attracting the bloodline of the 9 dragons. Let's search around. Lu Ming pondered and began to walk forward to observe his surroundings. Lu Ming gathered his essential qi and walked in the air, ignoring the white bones. After moving forward for a few thousand meters, they still found nothing. Whoa! At this moment, a strong wind suddenly blew across the world. The wind was cold and gloomy, and it gave people goosebumps. Roar! All of a sudden, a loud roar was heard and a black shadow pounced on Lu Ming with a terrifying momentum. Lu Ming was shocked. He pulled out his long spear and collided with the black shadow. Bang! There was a loud boom and Lu Ming felt a surge of energy surging towards him like the water of the sea. His body trembled and he could not help but retreat. The qi and blood in his body were in turmoil. This is a horned dragon. At this moment, Lu Ming could finally see clearly what the black shadow that attacked him was. It was actually a huge dragon. There were 5 dragon claws on its abdomen, and it was completely black. 5 claws, a true dragon. No, not a true dragon. The next moment, Lu Ming could clearly see that the true dragon was not a physical entity, but was condensed from energy. It was formed by a black energy. This energy was filled with a brutal, fiendish, and evil aura. Roar! The black dragon's attack missed. It roared angrily and pounced at Lu Ming. Before it even arrived, it brought with it a violent wind whistling through the air. 9 dragons trampling the heavens. Lu Ming took a step forward and collided with the black dragon. The next moment, Lu Ming's body trembled and he retreated rapidly. Strong. This black dragon was too strong. It was much stronger than Lu Ming. Let's go. Lu Ming did not linger in the battle. He turned and ran. The black dragon roared as it pursued. Roar! Lu Ming had not even run 100 meters when a roar came from ahead. A black dragon that was dozens of meters long appeared and pounced at Lu Ming. Another one. The front and back formed a pincer attack. Roar! Roar! And that wasn't all. On the left and right sides, loud roars sounded as 2 black dragons appeared. Lu Ming's expression changed completely. He wasn't even a match for 1 black dragon, let alone 4. Moreover, who knew if there would be more? As if to confirm Lu Ming's words, a series of roars rang out in the distance. There were at least a dozen of them. Lu Ming's face turned the color of a pig's liver. He wished he could give himself a tight slap. This was really what he wanted. As they roared, more than 10 black giant dragons appeared and surrounded Lu Ming. Now, I can only try the bloodline of the 9 dragons. Lu Ming furrowed his eyebrows tightly. In the next moment, the bloodlight surged and the 9 dragon bloodline appeared. Roar! As soon as the bloodline of the 9 dragons appeared, it roared at the black dragons. The black dragons trembled and stopped, looking at the bloodline of the 9 dragons in fear. It's effective. Lu Ming's eyes lit up and he was overjoyed. The formation of these black dragons was definitely related to the true dragon, and the 9 dragons were even above the true dragon. As expected, they had a deterrent effect on these black dragons. Roar! At this moment, the bloodline of the 9 dragons roared and flew out. A powerful devouring power erupted from its mouth and enveloped a black dragon. The black dragon screamed in fear and struggled with all its might. However, the bloodline of the 9 dragons rushed over and grabbed the black dragon's neck with its claws. Chapter 414. 414 consecutive breakthroughs. Then the bloodline of the 9 dragons pulled hard. Oh! The dragon roared as large chunks of mist were pulled out. The black dragon's body was made of these balls of mist. These balls of mist twisted and rolled in the air, looking extremely evil. Evil qi. These balls of mist were made up of evil qi. Bang! Bang! The bloodline of the 9 dragons pulled again, and an explosion burst out from the black dragon's body, causing a large amount of fog to explode. The ball of mist exploded, and a milky white gas was revealed from the black dragon's body. The milky white gas was about a meter long and took the shape of a dragon. At this moment it was trembling in fear. Is this goo dragon essence? Lu Ming was dumbfounded at first, then he was overjoyed. The dragon essence was the essence of a true dragon. It was like the genuine qi of a warrior, but it was many times more powerful than that. The dragon essence could absorb the evil qi and murderous qi in the world to form a black dragon. It definitely contained the essence of a real dragon. This was a supreme treasure to a martial artist. When a martial artist refined dragon essence, it would definitely make his cultivation advance by leaps and bounds. To Lu Ming it was even more precious. The true war dragon technique that he cultivated was dragon-shaped vital energy. If he could refine this dragon essence, the true war dragon technique would definitely advance by leaps and bounds. Haha! Absorb! Lu Ming controlled the 9 dragons, bloodline and burst out with a powerful devouring power. The bloodline of the 9 dragons opened its mouth and swallowed the 1-meter-long dragon essence. Continue. Lu Ming controlled the 9 dragon bloodlines and pounced on the other black dragons. Although the black dragons were extremely powerful, they were like mice in front of a cat in the face of the 9 dragon bloodline. They were scared half to death and their strength was greatly reduced. In a few moments, one of them was caught by the 9 dragon bloodline and the evil chi outside was broken open, revealing the dragon essence inside. The bloodline of the 9 dragons opened its mouth and sucked, devouring another dragon essence. Then he continued to the next one. The black dragons roared in fear and turned to run. My dragon essence, don't even think about running away. Lu Ming gave chase. Just like that, a series of roars rang out in this underground abyss. After half a day, everything calmed down. 18 dragon essences, a total of 18. Lu Ming's eyes were shining. He sat cross-legged on a stone wall, his face shining with excitement. He had killed 18 black dragons and captured 18 wisps of dragon essence. Then, he turned around again to make sure that there were no more black dragons before he stopped. Now, I'll begin cultivating the true war dragon technique. Lu Ming's eyes were bright. He released a wisp of dragon essence from his 9 dragons bloodline and began to circulate the true war dragon technique. When the dragon essence surged into his meridians, the essential chi in Lu Ming's body seemed to be excited all of a sudden. It wrapped around the dragon essence and refined it into essential chi. Instantly, Lu Ming's essential chi became even more lifelike, as if there were small true dragons, vivid and lifelike. His true chi had become more condensed. The true war dragon technique was quickly upgraded. After refining one, he followed up with the second, the third. After Lu Ming refined 5 wisps of dragon essence, the essential chi in his body roared. The true war dragon technique had broken through from the 5th stage to the 6th stage. His true chi was condensed and thick, 7 times that of an ordinary person. This wasn't enough. He continued to refine the dragon essence. 2 days later, the remaining dragon essence had been refined. The true war dragon technique had broken through another level, reaching the 7th level. The density of the true chi was 8 times that of ordinary people. Moreover, Lu Ming's cultivation had also increased by a notch, reaching the peak of the 8th level martial ancestor realm. He was only a step away from the 9th martial ancestor realm. Lu Ming felt that his body was filled with infinite power, and his essential chi was extremely condensed. With a wave of his hand, his essential chi condensed into a spear's gleam and shot into the ground, creating a huge bottomless hole. The long spear that Lu Ming condensed with essential chi was comparable to an ordinary 4th-level spiritual weapon. This was because Lu Ming's essential chi was too condensed. The weapons that he condensed were extremely strong. This greatly increased Lu Ming's combat strength. The true war dragon technique has been upgraded by 2 levels. My current combat strength is definitely at the level of a battle prodigy. Lu Ming pondered. The 2 levels of the true war dragon technique had allowed Lu Ming's combat strength to cross a limit and reach the level of a level 5 fighter. A talent of 5 battles, if it was spread out, it would scare people to death. Now I will fight with Huang Qixuan. I can kill him in 3 moves. Lu Ming was measuring his combat strength. His cultivation was the same as Huang Qixuan's, reaching the peak of the 8th level of martial ancestor realm. His combat strength was also at the level of a 5 battle genius, while Huang Qixuan was only at the level of a 4 battle genius. Lu Ming's combat strength was a whole level higher than that of Yan Qixuan. It was not difficult to kill him in 3 moves. Lu Ming stopped and stood up. Let's see what else is in this abyss. Lu Ming started to walk around. The abyss was very large, dozens of miles wide. Lu Ming walked around for half a day but did not find anything. It seemed that there were only 18 of those black dragons and they were all killed by Lu Ming. He didn't find any other living beings or spiritual herbs. There was nothing else but bones. After an hour, there's a stone inscription there. In the depths of the abyss, Lu Ming saw a stone carving on a wall. The stone carving was 10 meters long and 5 meters wide. A true dragon was carved on it. The true dragon's scales were actually of 3 different colors. What a real stone inscription! Lu Ming looked at the stone inscription and sighed. This true dragon seemed to be real. It was like a real dragon embedded in the stone wall, and it gave off a majestic aura that could swallow the world. Boom! As Lu Ming looked at it, there was a sudden explosion in his mind. Then he realized that the surrounding environment had changed. He found that he was in the middle of a cloud, which was actually formed by flames. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the cloud, and the wind whistled. Roar! Suddenly, a dragon's roar reverberated through the world. To Lu Ming's shock, he saw a true dragon with 3 colored scales, rolling and dancing in the clouds. It was more than 10,000 meters long and had 5 dragon claws. It was extremely terrifying as it stepped on the air. A true dragon. Lu Ming had actually seen a true dragon. Roar! The 3-colored true dragon let out a long roar. In an instant, the heavens and earth split apart, and a long crack appeared. Lu Ming felt his brain rumbling. There seemed to be a piece of information flying into his mind. In the next moment, the world changed and the true dragon disappeared. Lu Ming realized that he was still in the abyss, looking up at the stone carvings on the stone wall. What's going on? Was it just an illusion? No, there's a new piece of information in my mind. It's real. Lu Ming muttered. Then he began to organize the information in his mind. The 3 absolutes of the dragon god. The message in his mind was a martial technique called the Dragon God's 3 Absolutes. It was a spear technique. Spear technique. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Now, his strongest attacks were the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping step and the heavenly path palm. His spear technique was the weakest. He had always wanted to find a spear technique to cultivate, but spear techniques were much less desirable than sword techniques, saber techniques, fist techniques, and palm techniques. He had not been able to find a suitable one. Now, how was the spear art he had obtained from the true dragon stone inscription? Lu Ming could not wait to read it. Chapter 415. 415 The 3 Absolutes of Dragon God. This piece of information recorded that the Dragon God's 3 Absolutes was created by a true dragon named Lei Su. Lu Ming closed his eyes and studied it carefully. Half an hour later, Lu Ming opened his eyes. Amazing, this is really amazing. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with amazement. According to the records, the Dragon God's 3 Absolutes required the comprehension of 3 types of heaven and earth intent realms. Furthermore, the 3 types of intent realms had to be completely fused together in order to cultivate it to the highest realm. Above the control force was the intent realm. They were the intent realms of wind, fire, and thunder. Only by comprehending these 3 intent realms and merging them into one could one cultivate the 3 absolutes of the dragon god to the highest realm. However, it wasn't necessary for one to comprehend 3 intents before one could cultivate it. According to the records, one could cultivate it after comprehending 1 intent, but the power would be much weaker. Comprehending a kind of intent realm and cultivating the dragon god's 3 absolutes, the power of the dragon god's 3 absolutes was about the same as an upper earth grade martial technique. And if one comprehended 2 intents and fused them together, the power would reach heaven grade low rank. After comprehending 3 kinds of intent, its power could reach heaven grade top rank. According to Lei Su's speculation, 3 intents weren't the limit. If he could comprehend 4 intents and merge them together, the power of the 3 absolutes of the dragon god would be even stronger. Unfortunately, Lei Su was born with 3 kinds of intent realms. In the end, he didn't even comprehend the 4th kind. Intent, I'm still far from it. I haven't even reached the peak of control force. Lu Ming sighed. Could it be that one can't cultivate without comprehending intent? Lu Ming was a little indignant. He carefully read the message in his mind. A moment later, he revealed a hint of joy. This time he had a new discovery. One didn't need to comprehend the essence realm of heaven and earth to cultivate it. As long as one comprehended the corresponding shur, one could also cultivate it, just that one couldn't cultivate it to a high level. Coincidentally, Lu Ming had comprehended the force of wind and fire, which corresponded to the wind and fire concepts. If he cultivated the 3 absolutes of the dragon god, Its power would be equivalent to a low-grade heaven-level martial technique. However, with two of Lu Ming's sure at the peak of phenomenal success, he could only cultivate the Dragon God's three absolutes to the first level at most. Only when both forces reached perfection could they be cultivated to the second level. This was the limit. If one wanted to cultivate to a higher level, they would have to comprehend the will of heaven and earth. Haha, the first level is good enough. Lu Ming laughed heartily. He was very satisfied. One must know that he had fused two types of forces and had already successfully fused them. The Dragon God's three absolutes was equivalent to the power of a low-rank heaven-grade martial technique. The power of the first stage of a heaven-grade lower-level martial skill was already at the highest level of an earth-grade martial skill. In other words, as long as Lu Ming cultivated the first stage of the three absolutes of Dragon God, its power would completely surpass the heavenly Dao Palm and become Lu Ming's strongest killing move. When my wind and fire power evolves into the essence realm of heaven and earth, I'll comprehend the essence realm of thunder. Then the three absolutes of the Dragon God will be even more powerful. Lu Ming was filled with anticipation. This stone inscription actually contains such a powerful supreme art. How wonderful! Let me take a look again. Immediately, Lu Ming stared at the stone inscription and started to read it seriously. Buzz! The environment suddenly changed. This time Lu Ming appeared in a different place. This time he appeared in the starry sky. Roar! A dragon's roar resounded. In the starry sky, a three-colored true dragon flew over. Its 5 dragon claws stepped forward. With every step, the world rumbled and the space cracked like a spider web. True dragon steps. Lu Ming's entire body trembled. His eyes widened as he stared at the three-colored true dragon's claw. The true dragon steps reminded him of the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps. Although the 9 dragons were more powerful than the true dragon, Lu Ming was still too far away from that level. Not to mention the 9 dragons, even the true dragon was tens of thousands of times stronger than Lu Ming. There were similarities between the true dragon steps and the 9 dragons' heaven-trampling steps. Lu Ming suddenly felt enlightened. Some parts of the 9 dragons' heaven-trampling steps that he could not comprehend were instantly understood and became smooth. 9 dragons trampling the heavens. Lu Ming could not help but think of the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. He then took a step forward. Boom! 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 Heaven and earth rumbled, and heaven and earth suddenly shattered. The environment changed. Lu Ming found that he was still in the abyss, looking up at the stone carvings. 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps. I'll try it out. With a single thought, Lu Ming appeared in the supreme shrine. He didn't dare to test it in the abyss. He was afraid that if he took a step out, he would destroy the abyss. Everything else was fine, but it would be a pity if he destroyed that stone inscription. 9 dragons trampling the heavens. Suddenly, Lu Ming said softly and took a step forward. Bang! He took a step on the Supreme Shrine's platform, and it seemed as if the entire Supreme Shrine was shaking. Fortunately, the Supreme Shrine was a treasure of the 9 Suns Supreme. Lu Ming could not destroy it with his cultivation base. The Supreme Shrine only trembled for a moment before it returned to its calm state. At this moment, Lu Ming took another step. This step wasn't to start from the beginning, but to take another step on the foundation of the first. 9 dragons' heaven-trampling steps, 2 steps in a row. Lu Ming had finally cultivated to the second step. Buzz! The world buzzed and a mysterious aura rippled under Lu Ming's feet. Boom! With this step, the Supreme Shrine shook violently again, even more so than before. Whew! Lu Ming then took a deep breath. What a powerful pressure! Lu Ming pondered. With every step of the 9 dragons' sky-treading steps, his body would feel a powerful pressure from heaven and earth. With 2 steps, the pressure would be multiplied. Of course, its power was also extremely terrifying. It's even more powerful than the Heaven Path Palm. It's just barely at the heaven grade low rank. According to the records of the 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps, the first 2 steps are considered to be building the foundation. The increase in power is not very obvious. From the 3rd step onwards, the power will increase by several times with each step. That is the true horror. However, the difficulty of the cultivation will also increase by several times. This stone inscription is too wonderful. Let me take a look again. Next, Lu Ming looked at the stone inscription. The environment changed again. This time, the three-colored true dragon was still in the starry sky. This time, Lu Ming only observed carefully and did not notice anything. Not long after, the three-colored true dragon's body began to transform rapidly. In the end, it actually turned into a handsome middle-aged man. The middle-aged man was wearing a tricolored robe. A long spear appeared in his hand and he began to wave it. This is the dragon god's three absolutes. Lu Ming's eyes lit up and he began to take a closer look. The dragon god's three absolutes were divided into three moves. They were the True Dragon Strike, the 10,000 Dragon Kill, and the Extreme Strike. The first two moves could be cultivated no matter how many intents or forces one had comprehended. Only the third move, the Extreme Strike, could be practiced after one had comprehended the wills of wind, fire, and thunder and successfully combined them. Once it was successfully cultivated, the power was extremely terrifying. A spear thrust could penetrate everything and break everything. He did not expect that there would be a scene of Lei Su practicing his spear technique on the stone inscription. This was of great help to Lu Ming. Lu Ming took a closer look. A moment later, the world changed and Lu Ming was still in the abyss. Chapter 4:16. For 16, the place of the final assessment. Immediately, Lu Ming took out his long spear and started to wave it. The long spear danced like a dragon, bringing with it the power of wind and fire, and the faint roar of a dragon could be heard. However, after a moment, the dragon's roar stopped abruptly and Lu Ming stopped cultivating. Although he failed, Lu Ming was not dejected. Of course, the three absolutes of the dragon god could not be cultivated so easily. Moreover, his wind-fire force was only at the phenomenal success stage. It was already very good that he was able to produce the sound of a dragon's roar on his first attempt. It was all thanks to that stone carving. Continue. Lu Ming immediately continued cultivating. Just like that, Lu Ming was fully immersed in his cultivation. There were two main types of cultivation. One was the dragon god's three absolutes and the other was the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps. This was because these two types of inscriptions could inspire one and greatly help one's cultivation. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, 2 months had passed. There were only a few days left until the end of the Ditian Divine Guard selection. At this moment, all the geniuses in the Eastern Nether ancient battlefield were gathering towards the center of the battlefield. There, he would take part in the final assessment. In the Dragon's Cave, blood qi was rolling like an ocean in the huge underground cave. Suddenly, the blood qi churned and formed a blood-red giant dragon. It rushed toward a blood-robed young man and entered his body in the blink of an eye. Buzz! The blood-robed youth suddenly opened his eyes. 2 rays of blood-red light shot through the air. Buzz! Buzz! More than 100 black-robed men appeared in front of the blood-robed young man and shouted, "Congratulations, senior brother! Ha ha ha! It's all thanks to the blood of those geniuses that I've achieved great success." Unfortunately, one of them jumped into the abyss and the other one escaped. Otherwise, I could have reached a higher level. But this is enough. The Eastern Sky Divine Guards, one of the 4 Sky Divine Guards, will be buried by me. The blood-robed youth laughed. Senior brother is invincible. The black-robed man flattered. Haha, let's go. Let's head to the place of the final examination. The blood-robed young man smiled and led everyone out of the dragon's cave, rushing towards the central area. There was an extremely hidden valley some distance away from the dragon's cave. This valley was filled with rolling thunder and lightning, and it was filled with endless power of lightning. A young figure walked out of the valley. His body was covered in thunder and lightning, and his aura soared to the sky. I didn't expect to cultivate for almost 3 months. Lu Ming, don't die. If you want to die, you'll have to wait until I find out the secret of the martial emperor's treasure. A cold voice came from the person, as cold as the winter snow. This person was Cho Chongkong. With a cold laugh, Cho Chongkong turned into a ray of light and disappeared into the horizon, heading towards the central region. At the same time, Lu Ming was still cultivating. In the abyss, Lu Ming stared at the stone inscription in a daze. He only came to his senses after an unknown period of time. True Dragon Strike. Die. Lu Ming said softly. The demon-subduing spear suddenly appeared. The power of wind and fire grew and he thrust the spear. Roar. A dragon's roar resounded as the power of wind and fire converged, forming a two-colored true dragon that roared wildly. The dragon god's 3 absolutes are the limit of the first level. It's a pity that I'll need to perfect the power of wind and fire to break through to the second level. After nearly 2 months of cultivation, he had finally succeeded in cultivating the dragon god's 3 absolutes. Moreover, he had reached the limit of the first level. One had to know that this was equivalent to a heaven-grade lower-level martial skill. To be able to successfully cultivate it in such a short period of time was already very rare. It's a pity that I still haven't successfully cultivated the 3rd step of the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps. Lu Ming sighed. During this period, the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps had also improved by leaps and bounds. Lu Ming felt that he was only 1 step away from cultivating the 3rd step of the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. Once he cultivated the 3rd step of the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps, his power would increase crazily. The power of the 3rd step was equivalent to the 6th stage of a heaven-grade low-level martial technique. It's a pity that I don't have much time left. The 3-month period is almost up. I really want to continue cultivating here. Lu Ming sighed and looked at the dragon-shaped stone carving with bright eyes. Can we dig out this stone inscription? Lu Ming stared at the stone inscription and studied it carefully. After a while, he flew up and took out a shiny big knife. He actually started to cut around the stone inscription. He wanted to take this stone inscription away. The stone walls here were extremely hard, equivalent to a 4th-level spirit weapon. Sparks flew when it cut into the stone walls, and the resistance was unbelievably strong. Lu Ming gritted his teeth and exerted all his strength to cut and dig. After a long time, Lu Ming was sweating profusely and he was only halfway done. Haha, sure, let's continue. Lu Ming buried himself in his work again. Gotcha! Suddenly, the stone inscription made a cracking sound and a crack appeared in the middle. Don't! Lu Ming shouted. Gotcha! Gotcha! The sounds became more and more intense, and spiderweb-like cracks appeared on the stone. Bang! In the end, the entire stone inscription exploded and turned into ashes, scattering in all directions. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. This stone inscription had actually exploded on its own. It seems like we can't take it away. Once we excavate it, the stone inscription will self-destruct. Lu Ming sighed in pity. In that case, he was the only one who knew the 3 absolutes of the dragon god. Forget it. Without the stone inscriptions, I can still cultivate the 3 absolutes of the dragon god to the highest realm. I have to set off now. Any later and it'll be too late. Lu Ming soared into the sky and flew up. However, when he was more than 1,000 meters in the air, there was an invisible force that blocked Lu Ming's flight. Lu Ming slid to the side, stuck to the wall and quickly climbed up. A moment later, Lu Ming finally left the abyss and arrived at the huge cave. The underground cave was quiet, without a single sound. There were hundreds of dried corpses lying on the ground. They were all the young experts who had come in last time. As for that piece of dragon scale, it had naturally disappeared without a trace. I wonder if Bu Fifan and the others have escaped. Lu Ming muttered and walked forward. Suddenly he stopped. There were a few mummies here which attracted Lu Ming's attention. Bu Fifan, Sun Chu. Lu Ming sighed. Through their clothes he recognized 2 mummified corpses. They belonged to Bu Fifan and Sun Chu. It seemed that the strongest of these 2 super regions did not manage to escape in the end. However, he did not see Xianfeng's body. Did Xianfeng escape? Lu Ming pondered. The ancient barren city had always been mysterious. It was normal for Xianfeng to have some powerful escape techniques. Let's go. After that, Lu Ming did not stop. He turned into a ray of light and rushed up the cave. Very soon they were out of the dragon's cave. Lu Ming took a step forward and his figure disappeared from the place. He was heading towards the central area with all his might. Oh! In the central region of the Eastern Nether ancient battlefield, there were 108 sacrificial altars built on a flat piece of land. Each altar was 100 meters tall and was extremely majestic. 108 altars were scattered in 4 regions. Each region had 27 altars, and the 4 regions were 900 miles apart from each other. Chapter 4:17. For 17 The Gathering of Geniuses. Buzz, buzz, oh. The sound of the air being torn apart rang out as figures appeared outside these altars. Each direction of the Eastern Nether ancient battlefield corresponded to a sacrificial altar. All the geniuses of the eastern region of the Tianxian region were scattered in these 4 directions. Lu Ming was in the east. At the altar in the eastern region, figures flickered and young men with powerful auras appeared. A few hours later, more than 3,000 people had gathered, and the number was still increasing. Buzz, buzz. 2 rays of sword radiance appeared outside the altar. When the sword radiance dissipated, 2 figures were revealed. They were Jian Fengyun and Xiao Haoyu. Their auras were powerful, clearly much stronger than they were 2 months ago. Brother Jian. As soon as Jian Fengyun appeared, someone in the crowd flew over to greet him. Brother Jiang. Jian Fengyun smiled. This person was Zhang Hongwen, who was ranked 3rd on the Cloud Emperor board. In addition, there were also some familiar faces on the Cloud Emperor board, such as Su Yingying, who was ranked 13th, Lu Xiaofeng, who was ranked 35th. When they first entered the Eastern Nether ancient battlefield, not everyone had gathered together. Most of the people were gathered together, but there were still some people who were scattered far away after being teleported in. Zhang Hongwen and the others were the same. Jian Fengyun greeted them with a nod. The number of people kept increasing and soon it had exceeded 5,000. Guys, look. That's the genius from the super district, Fengyun Bay. The geniuses from White Feather City are here too. That's also a super region. Around them people kept exclaiming in shock. This was because the geniuses from the superior super regions had all appeared. Look, what's that? A blood-red cloud? Suddenly, someone pointed into the distance and shouted. In the distance, a mass of blood-red clouds surged over. As it approached, the cloud dispersed, revealing more than 100 figures inside. The leader was Zhang Shang, the blood-robed young man from the Dragon Burial Abyss. The others were the 100 over young experts from the Dragon Burial Abyss. Hehe. A bunch of trash. Zhang Shang looked at the geniuses from the super regions and laughed in disdain. He did not hold back his voice at all, and it spread far and wide. What did you just say? You're looking for death. In the Fengyun Bay area, a genius roared angrily. His killing intent flashed as his body moved and he pounced forward like a corpse. His aura was as heavy as a mountain. This was a genius expert who had reached the early stage of martial ancestor 8 Dan. Whoosh! At this moment Zhang Shang's figure flickered like a phantom. In the next moment, a mournful scream rang out. Everyone was shocked to see that Zhang Shang's claw was on the head of the young man from Fengyun Bay, and 5 holes were made in his head. The body of the young man from Fengyun Bay wriggled rapidly. In a few breaths he turned into a dry corpse. All the blood chi essence in his body had disappeared. Hiss hiss hiss. Gasps could be heard as everyone looked at Burial in shock. This was a genius in the early stage of the martial ancestor 8 Dan. Moreover, he was most likely a genius who had won 3 battles. However, in the hands of buried life, he was as weak as a little chick and had no power to resist. How strong was Burial? Boom! Boom! Powerful auras burst out from the Fengyun Bay area. Hundreds of young men stared at Zhang Shang with gloomy eyes. One of them, in particular, had an especially powerful aura that was extremely terrifying. He was wearing a wind cloud robe and stepped out. He stared at Zhang Shang with an unfriendly gaze and said, "Friend, isn't this too much? He's the Elis sect, the most powerful person in the Fengyun Bay area." Someone recognized the young man. Too much? He's just a piece of trash. Is it wrong for me to say that? If you want to attack me, you're just courting death. What you want to attack to? I don't mind sending you on your way to accompany him. Zhongsheng laughed in disdain and licked his lips. His eyes were cold and greedy as he looked at the Aeolus sect. Savage, he was completely savage. Even when facing the strongest person in a super region, he was still extremely savage. The Aeolus sect leader frowned. For some reason, being stared at by Zhongsheng, Aeolus sect felt a chill run down his spine. His hair stood on end as if he was being stared at by an extremely venomous snake. "Where are you guys from?" the Aeolus sect asked. "Hee, you want to know? There's no harm in telling you. We're from the Dragon Burial Abyss." Zhongsheng sneered. Dragon Burial Abyss. The Aeolus sect leader's eyes flashed and he was a little surprised. He then said, "All right, I'll remember this." The Aeolus sect had retreated, causing an uproar among the onlookers. Clearly, the Aeolus sect did not make a move. They were planning to retreat. Wasn't the Dragon Burial Abyss an ordinary large area? How could there be such a terrifying genius? Could it make the Aeolus sect retreat? Everyone looked at Zhongsheng with great curiosity. Hee. Zhongsheng laughed in disdain. At this moment, more and more people were gathering, and there were already more than 10,000 people. Whoosh! In the sky, a bolt of lightning flashed and a figure appeared. Cho Chongkong! The people from the Cloud King mountain range exclaimed when they saw Cho Chongkong. The moment Cho Chongkong appeared, he scanned his surroundings and saw Jian Fengyun and the others. He took a step forward and arrived in front of Jian Fengyun and the others. He looked around and said coldly, "Where's Lu Ming? Where did he go? Could he be dead? Do any of you have any news about him?" His tone was overbearing and commanding. It didn't sound like a question, but more like he was ordering Jian Fengyun and the others to speak. Jian Fengyun, Jiang Hongwen and the others frowned. They were all geniuses, so they were naturally displeased with Cho Chongkong's tone. Brother Lu is a peerless talent. Naturally, he won't die. He's most likely on his way here. Jian Fengyun said. "Brother Lu? Seems that you have been with Lu Ming all this while. Tell me, where is Lu Ming? Send him a message and tell him to come over and die." Cho Chongkong continued to command. "Cho Chongkong, mind your attitude. Even if I knew, why should I tell you?" Jian Fengyun's voice turned cold. "What's wrong? Are you unhappy? Haha, Jian Fengyun, do you still think that you are the #1 genius on the Cloud Emperor board? I'm telling you, in front of me you're just a piece of trash. Now kneel down." Cho Chongkong was incomparably arrogant as he sent a palm flying toward Jian Fengyun. Buzz! The sound of a sword rang out as Jian Fengyun unsheathed his long sword. A streak of sword chi shot up into the sky. It was terrifying. The early phase of the martial ancestor realm level 8. It was obvious that Jian Fengyun had also made a breakthrough during this period of time. He had reached the early phase of the martial ancestor realm level 8. Cho Chongkong, you may have had a fortuitous encounter and your cultivation base has improved greatly, but you're too arrogant. Let me see how much progress you've made. Jian Fengyun said in a deep voice. Buzz! In the next moment, an extremely sharp sword chi slashed toward Cho Chongkong. Supercilious? Why do I need to look at you guys in the eye? Cho Chongkong laughed coldly. He suddenly pointed his fingers together like a sword, and a bolt of sword chi with lightning flashing around it burst forth. With a crisp sound, Jian Fengyun's sword chi was shattered. Cho Chongkong's lightning sword chi continued on its way to Jian Fengyun's throat. The speed was so fast that it was beyond human reaction time. Jian Fengyun wanted to avoid it, but it was too late. Chapter 418. 418. The powerful Cho Chongkong. Just as Jian Fengyun was about to die under the sword, Cho Chongkong's hand gesture changed. His sword fingers turned into a palm, and he slapped Jian Fengyun's shoulder. Oh! Jian Fengyun's body trembled and he knelt down. Bang! Jian Fengyun fell to his knees in front of Cho Chongkong. Ah! Jian Fengyun struggled with all his might. His eyes were red. This was worse than death. He would rather die than kneel in front of Cho Chongkong. However, with a flash of lightning from Cho Chongkong's palm, Jian Fengyun's body shuddered, and he was no longer able to resist. Brother Jian! Xiao Haoyu roared, a powerful aura rising from his body. Cho Changkong, don't go too far. Jiang Hongwen and the others also shouted. They were shocked to see that Cho Changkong's combat strength had increased so much in just 3 months. Jian Fingyun's cultivation had improved by a huge margin, but he was still defeated by Cho Changkong in a single move. He was forced to his knees. How could Cho Changkong be so powerful? What kind of fortuitous encounter did he have? Cho Changkong's eyes turned cold as he looked at Jiang Hongwen and the others. What's wrong? You want to interfere? Are you looking to die? Boom! Cho Changkong's body exploded with killing intent and a powerful aura. It was as if an ancient beast had awakened. The powerful aura forced Jiang Hongwen and the others to retreat, their faces full of fear. At this moment, the strongest experts of the super regions were all looking at Cho Changkong with grave expressions. This guy. Zhang Sheng also looked at Cho Changkong, a hint of killing intent flashing in his eyes. Hee. Seeing the expressions on Jiang Hongwen and the others' faces, Cho Changkong let out a cold laugh and revealed a satisfied expression. He looked down at Jian Fengyun and said, Jian Fengyun, I won't kill you today. I'll let you see with your own eyes who is the strongest in the Cloud King mountain range. Ha. Cho Changkong looked at Jian Fengyun with disdain and laughed heartily. Jian Fengyun clenched his fists so tightly that his nails dug into his flesh, causing blood to flow. You're just a piece of trash. Cho Changkong laughed in disdain, feeling extremely carefree. The most powerful man in the Cloud Emperor mountain range was still kneeling in front of him. Next, he was going to become the Eastern Sky Divine Guard of the 4 Sky Divine Guards, and make all the other geniuses bow down to him. Buzz! At this moment, the 27 altars suddenly started to shake and gave off a bright light. The array has been activated. We have to leave this place and take part in the final assessment. This time, I'll definitely become an Emperor Sky Divine Guard. Sigh, I'll be satisfied as long as I can become a reserve Detian Divine Guard. Buzz! The 27 altars glowed with light and inscriptions. After a while, the light from the 27 altars gathered together and a huge whirlpool appeared above the altars. The teleportation path to the final assessment has been opened. All you have to do is enter the whirlpool, and you will arrive at the final assessment location. A deep and majestic voice came from the vortex. Haha, the final assessment has begun. Let's go. Zhang Sheng laughed and flew into the whirlpool, disappearing. The rest of the people from the Dragon Burial Abyss followed closely behind. Let's go. Let's go. More than 10,000 people flew into the whirlpool and disappeared like locusts. Humph, that Lu Ming is not here yet. Seems that he has died somewhere. Cho Changkong coldly snorted. Then, he looked into the distance with a cold glint in his eyes. Lu Ming, don't think that just because you're dead, I won't be able to get the news of the Martial Emperor's treasure. Once I become an Empyrean Heaven Divine Guard and flatten the Mystic Essence Sword sect, I'll get the news of the Martial Emperor's treasure from your father. Don't think that I can't do anything just because that old man swore to die and refused to obey. Cho Changkong's mind raced as he looked at Jian Fengyun. He kicked Jian Fengyun away and said, Trash, get lost. Then he moved and rushed toward the vortex, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Brother Jian, how are you? Xiao Haoyu, Jiang Hongwen, and the others quickly went over to help Jian Fengyun up. Oh. I'm fine, Jian Fengyun said as he wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Sigh, I didn't expect Cho Changkong's cultivation to have reached such a level. It's truly shocking. Jiang Hongwen sighed. Jian Fengyun's expression was ugly. He didn't say much. He looked into the distance and said in a low voice, Lu Ming, did something really happen to you? He's already dead? Lu Ming had not arrived yet. It was very likely that there was a problem. Suddenly, Jian Fengyun's expression changed. He saw a ray of light rapidly approaching from the horizon. This ray of light was too fast. It arrived here in an instant. Lu Ming. Lu Jianfenjian was overjoyed. The light faded and Lu Ming's body was revealed. Lu Ming was as fast as lightning and he finally arrived. Haha, Lu Ming, I knew you would be fine. Jian Fengyun was ecstatic. Haha, brother Lu. Xiao Haoyu also stepped forward to greet him. At the side, Jiang Hongwen and the rest were extremely puzzled. Wasn't it just Lu Ming? Did Jian Fengyun have to be so excited? Although Lu Ming's combat strength was strong, he had barely made it into the top 10 in the previous qualifiers. What was there to be happy about? Brother Jian, you're injured and it seems like you've just been injured. Who injured you? Lu Ming could tell that Jian Fengyun was injured at a glance. Although the injury was not serious, Lu Ming could tell with one look. Haha, I'm fine. It's just a small injury. Jian Fengyun smiled. Lu Ming frowned. Jian Fengyun seemed to be afraid of something and did not tell the truth. Brother Jian, why hide it? Lu Ming, let me tell you. This matter is all because of you. Jiang Hongwen shouted from the side. Brother Jiang, say no more. Jian Fengyun wanted to stop him. Because of me. Lu Ming frowned. That's right, it's all because of you. I know that you and Cho Chongkong come from the same empire and have a grudge against each other. Just now, Cho Chongkong couldn't find you, so he took out his anger on Brother Jian. Jiang Hongwen said loudly. Cho Chongkong? He's actually this strong? Lu Ming said. That's right. I don't know what kind of fortuitous encounter Cho Chongkong had, but his cultivation base is terrifyingly strong. Lu Ming, let me remind you, if you encounter Cho Chongkong, you should stay as far away as possible. I'm just giving you a friendly reminder. Don't doubt me. Jiang Hongwen said. The other geniuses in the Cloud Emperor mountain range nodded. Brother Lu, Cho Chongkong is indeed powerful now. You might not be a match for him. Jian Fengyun sighed. Is that so? Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile and a murderous intent flashed across his eyes. Let's go. Lu Ming changed the topic and did not say anything else. Everyone nodded and rushed into the vortex. When Lu Ming rushed into the vortex, the familiar feeling of the world spinning around him happened again. After a while, Lu Ming found himself standing on a platform paved with white jade. Lu Ming sized up his surroundings. The three sides of the platform were blurry like chaos, and the last side was a flight of stairs. The stairs were completely paved with white jade and they went straight up. This is the 1,000-step jade staircase. Only those who can climb it will be considered as reserve Emperor Heaven Divine Guards. Those who can't climb it will be eliminated. Lu Ming pondered. Chapter 419. For 19, the battle in the spectator stand. Lu Ming had long learned that the final assessment of the Ditian Divine Guards was divided into several rounds. The first round would be this 1,000-step jade stairway. Only by climbing it could one become a preparatory Emperor Sky Divine Guard. After climbing the 1,000-step jade staircase, there was another test. Only by passing the next test could one become a true Emperor Sky Divine Guard. There was no one around. Lu Ming speculated that they should be in the inscription array. The 1,000-step jade staircase in front of him was most likely condensed by an inscription formation. Let's see what's so special about this 1,000-step jade staircase. Lu Ming smiled and stepped forward. Buzz! As soon as Lu Ming stepped on it, a huge force between heaven and earth pressed down on him. What? Lu Ming's body trembled slightly and he offset this force. This power not only affects the physical body, but also the genuine qi in the body. Even the mind is under pressure. Lu Ming's heart moved and he was secretly amazed. However, although this force was strong, it was like a Buddha's face in the spring breeze to Lu Ming. He did not feel much. Ta! Lu Ming walked up step by step. His body was straight and he was as unmoving as a mountain. Very quickly, he had stepped over 100 jade steps. He discovered that the higher he went, the greater the pressure he felt. However, such pressure was nothing to Lu Ming. Lu Ming walked faster and faster. One by one, he stepped on the jade stairs. In just a few minutes, Lu Ming had reached the 1,000-step jade staircase. Above the 1,000-step jade staircase was a platform. In front of the platform was a stone door. The stone door was open and there was a flash of light. The scene behind the stone door could not be seen clearly. Behind this stone door was the second round of assessment. After passing this round of assessment, one would be able to become a true Ditian Divine Guard. On the left side of the platform there was a vortex which was the teleportation gate. If one felt that they were not strong enough and could not pass the second round, they could leave this vortex and naturally be transported to the corresponding location. If one wanted to try, it was also possible. It was said that there wouldn't be any real danger. If there was really a crisis, the formation would teleport the person away to the area where the Emperor Sky Divine Guards were prepared. That person would be considered to have failed the trial. At this time there was a huge circular building in the 10,000 Stars city. It covered an area of thousands of acres, and could accommodate millions of people at the same time. This building was like a coliseum, but it was divided into 4 areas by 2 intersecting light screens. It was like a piece of cake that had been cut into 4 fan-shaped areas. They were the north, south, east, and west areas. The 4 areas did not see each other, and their vision was blocked by the light screen. The eastern region was divided into 5 levels according to their distribution. At the center of the fan shape was the first level, and there was a fighting ring. The outer ring of the battle stage was the second level. There was a stone tablet with the words, Detian Divine Guard, written on it. On the third level, there was also a stone tablet with the words, Reserve Empyrean Heaven Divine Guard, written on it. Further out, the fourth level was not written at all. Further out were rows of seats. This area was the largest, just like the outermost ring of a cake. Now all the seats were full. It was densely packed with people. No one knew how many people there were. Among these seats there was a rather special seat. This seat was occupied by the leading elders of each region. Wuxia, the leading elder of the Cloud Emperor mountain range, was sitting inside. Beside him were Zhao Sui, the leader of the Thousand River region, and Han Suan, the leader of the Nether Demon Palace. Their eyes were fixed on the empty area of the few levels below. Those few levels of regions were engraved with profound inscription formations that led to the ancient battlefield of the Netherworld. As long as someone climbed the 1,000-step jade stairs and chose to walk into that vortex, they would be teleported to the Reserve Empyrean Heavenly Divine Guard area. As for those who chose to continue the challenge but failed, they would also be teleported to the Emperor Sky Divine Guard Reserve area, which meant that they could only become one Reserve Emperor Sky Divine Guard. By the same logic, as long as one became an Empyrean Sky Divine Guard, they would be teleported to the Empyrean Sky Divine Guard area. As for those who had not even become the Emperor Sky Divine Guards, all those who had failed would be sent to the open space on the 4th level. Wuxia, you don't have to stare at me so intently. It's useless even if your eyes explode. I reckon that everyone in the Cloud Emperor mountain range has died. Let alone becoming an Emperor Sky Divine Guard or a Reserve Emperor Sky Divine Guard. I'm afraid that there won't even be many who can come out alive. Zhao Sui, the elder leading the team of the Thousand River region, suddenly said coldly. Wuxia's face darkened and he said, Zhao Sui, she hasn't come out yet. No one knows what the result will be. Aren't you afraid of hurting your tongue by saying this now? Tongue? Haha, what a joke. I'm sure of that. Those useless people in the Cloud Emperor mountain range will definitely die unless they find a place to hide. Zhao Sui said with a cold smile. You. Wuxia's expression was unsightly. Zhao Sui, you're speaking too early. Every year, there are geniuses from small regions who join the Detian Divine Guards. On the side, the elders from the other smaller districts spoke up for Wuxia. A bunch of trash that only knows how to console them slaviers. I feel that Brother Zhao is right. Trash from a small region should be better off dead. To think that they want to compete with us from a large region for the position of the Emperor Sky Divine Guard. They really don't know their own limits. A faint voice was heard. It was Han Suan, the elder leading the team of the Dark Demon Palace. His words were full of contempt, which made the leading elders of several small areas on the side look extremely ugly. Haha, you're right, Brother Han. Wuxia, if you want to watch, then continue. I'm afraid the more you watch, the more despair you'll feel. Zhao Sui revealed a mocking smile. Someone's coming out. Someone suddenly shouted. In the open space of the 4th level, people kept appearing. The people who had appeared all had looks of disappointment and unwillingness on their faces. Those who appeared in this area had failed and were completely eliminated. The elders' faces didn't change much. In every region, a large number of people would be eliminated. This wasn't surprising. What they were paying attention to was how many people would appear in the Reserve Empyrean Heavenly Divine Guard area, and the Empyrean Heavenly Divine Guard area. After a short while, there was finally some movement in the area where the Emperor Sky Divine Guards were in reserve. A figure appeared in a flash. Haha, he's a genius from my region. I knew that this brat would be able to become a Reserve Empyrean Heaven Divine Guard. An elder leader of a small district laughed excitedly. Following that, more and more people were teleported out of the area where the Ditian Divine Guards were being prepared. Jiang Hongwen, Shengguan Yunyan. Suddenly, Lu Xiu's eyes lit up. He saw Jiang Hongwen and Shengguan Yunyan in the area where the Emperor Heaven Divine Guards were preparing to be stationed. Lu Xiu's face was filled with joy. Jiang Hongwen and Shengguan Yunyan were ranked 3rd and 4th respectively on the Cloud Emperor ranking list. It was within his expectations that they could become Reserve Empyrean Heaven Divine Guards. However, there were always accidents. He was really afraid that, as Zhao Sui had said, all the geniuses of the Cloud Emperor mountain range had fallen in the ancient battlefield of the Netherworld. When he saw the two of them, he was naturally overjoyed. Haha, Zhao Sui, it seems that not a single Ditian Divine Guard has appeared in your Thousand River region. Lu Xiu felt much more at ease now that two of them were on the way to becoming Emperor Sky Divine Guards. He looked at Zhao Sui and mocked him. Chapter 420. 420 Chapter 420 Challenge. Humph. Oh. Zhao Sui snorted coldly, his face gloomy. What's the hurry? It's still early. When the geniuses of the Thousand River region appear, you'll be scared to death. Oh, then I'll wait. Lu Xiu laughed. As time passed, the number of people who appeared in the Reserve Emperor Sky Divine Guard area gradually increased. However, Zhao Sui's expression became more and more unsightly. There were only a few people from the Thousand River region, which was not much better than the Cloud Emperor mountain range. Ah, Zhao Sui, there are so many of you. You really scared me to death. Lu Xiu said sarcastically. In the past, Zhao Sui had laughed at him from time to time. Now that he had the chance, Lu Xiu naturally retaliated. Why are you so anxious? Zhao Sui said with a gloomy face. Oh, Zhao Sui, it's almost time for the assessment to be completed, but I haven't seen many people. Do you really think that all the geniuses from your Thousand River region can become real Ditian Divine Guards? Lu Xiu sneered. Giggle. Zhao Sui gritted his teeth. However, he was also very anxious. He knew very well that there were only a dozen or so people in the Thousand River region who could challenge the Ditian Divine Guards. There were still 40 to 50 people who could attempt to become the Reserve Empyrean Heaven Divine Guards. But now, there were quite a few people who were eliminated, but they were all just bystanders. However, there were only a few of them who could make it to the Emperor Sky Divine Guard Reserve. He was a little flustered, afraid that something would happen. Han Suan, the leader of the Nether Demon Palace, also had an ugly expression on his face. This was because the situation of the Nether Demon Palace was the same as the Thousand River Waters. There were only a few who were ready to become the Emperor Sky Divine Guards. At the place of the assessment on the 1,000-step jade staircase, Lu Ming pondered for a moment and walked toward the stone door. As soon as he entered, the environment changed again, and he found himself on a platform. In front of him was a middle-aged man with a long spear on his back. He stood there like a straight mountain. As long as you can defeat me, you'll be able to become an Emperor Sky Divine Guard. The middle-aged man said, his voice cold and emotionless. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He could tell that this burly man was formed by inscriptions. Boom! As soon as the middle-aged man finished speaking, a powerful aura exploded from his body. Peak of the 9th level of the martial ancestor realm. Lu Ming's heart stirred. He sighed inwardly at the difficulty of the Ditian Divine Guard examination. In order to defeat an ordinary 9th level martial ancestor realm expert, one's cultivation had to be at the peak of the 7th level martial ancestor realm. One's combat strength had to surpass a World War II expert. Of course, if he was a 3 or 4 battle genius, then his cultivation could be lower. In the Cloud Emperor mountain range, only Jian Fengyun can achieve such a level of difficulty. Young Master Tianxi was already dead. Zhang Hongwen's cultivation had not reached the peak of the 7th level of martial ancestor realm, so he basically had no chance. Kill! All of a sudden, the middle-aged burly man bellowed and became one with his spear. The long spear in his hand turned into a bolt of lightning and stabbed toward Lu Ming. Fast, accurate, and ruthless. Lu Ming smiled. He quickly condensed a long spear in his hand and thrust it out. Whoosh! This spear attack was more than twice as fast as the other party. Bang! The spear pierced through the middle-aged man's chest. The middle-aged man's entire body exploded and dissipated into energy. A martial arts grandmaster 9-dan peak was dealt with in one move. To the current Lu Ming, this was not difficult at all. Lu Ming smiled and walked forward. In front of the platform was another stone door, and on the left was a vortex. As long as they gave up on the challenge, they would be able to leave the vortex and become the Diqian Divine Guards. Entering through the stone door meant continuing the challenge. If the challenge was successful, the challenger would appear on the fighting ring on the first level of the huge building in the Myriad Star City. There, the battle of the strongest would take place and the 4 divine guards would be decided. Since Lu Ming and the others were in the eastern region, they were naturally the Eastern Sky Divine Guards. The building was divided into 4 parts, north, south, east and west, representing the 4 heavenly divine guards. Becoming one of the 4 divine guards could be said to be the strongest expert among the younger generation in the entire eastern region of the Tianxian region. There were many benefits and they were also the biggest focus of the event. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many people in that building. Lu Ming stepped through the stone door without any hesitation. Buzz! Heaven and earth shook. Lu Ming found himself in a secret room. There were more than a dozen stone carvings on the walls of the secret room. Each stone carving was a person practicing martial arts. This was a martial technique. Other than that, there was nothing else. Suddenly, there was a flash of light, and the figure of an old man condensed. Welcome to the challenge. This round is to test your comprehension ability. Everyone will appear in a secret room, but the test will be different for each person. There will be a martial technique that you are not good at, and you will be able to comprehend it. As long as you can successfully cultivate it within half an hour, you will pass this round. The moment the old man appeared, he immediately started explaining. A fist technique. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Fist techniques were indeed his weakness. Other than the low-level fist technique he had practiced in the beginning, he had not practiced any more fist techniques. This fist technique is a black-grade high-level fist technique. You only need to cultivate to the first level within half an hour. The first glimpse of the door seal. Begin now. After the old man finished speaking, his figure disappeared. It was not easy to cultivate a black-grade high-level martial arts technique that he was not good at to the first stage within half an hour. Immediately, Lu Ming began to study the stone carvings in detail and began to comprehend them. Time slowly passed. In the outside world, in the huge building of the Myriad Stars City, someone has become a Diqian Divine Guard. Suddenly, a light flashed in the Diqian Divine Guard's area and a figure appeared. Haha! It's a genius from our Jinkui region. An elder leader laughed out loud. The Jinkui region was a small region, and having one person become an Empyrean Heaven Divine Guard was already breaking even. If there was one more person, it would be a breakthrough. Moreover, he was the first to become an Empyrean Sky Divine Guard. Although being the first to become an Diqian Divine Guard didn't mean that one's strength was stronger than the others, there might be some people who wanted to challenge the next trials. As more and more people became Diqian Divine Guards, more and more people became Diqian Divine Guards. Sword Wind Cloud. Suddenly Lu Xiu's eyes lit up. He saw Jian Fengyun in the Diqian Divine Guards area. Ha ha ha, you didn't let me down. Lu Xiu laughed heartily. He was well aware of the strength of the Cloud Emperor mountain range. Jian Fengyun still had a very high chance of becoming an Emperor Sky Divine Guard. As for young Master Tianxi and Zhang Hongwen, it could only be said that there was hope, but not much hope. Now that Jian Fengyun had become an Emperor Sky Divine Guard, he could finally relax. No matter how weak they were, at least one of them had become an Empyrean Heaven Divine Guard. One had to know that in the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range, no one had become an Emperor Sky Divine Guard in the previous tournament. If one of them became a Diqian Divine Guard, he would still be able to obtain some rewards. Chapter 421. 421 The Last Stage. On the other hand, Zhao Sui's face was so dark that it almost turned into black charcoal. Even now, he had yet to see a single figure of the geniuses from the Thousand River region in the Diqian Divine Guards area. This made the bad feeling in his heart grow stronger and stronger. This was not normal, it was too abnormal. Could it be that all the geniuses of the Thousand River region had passed the last round? That was impossible. He knew very well that even the most powerful young man in the Thousand River region might not be able to make it through. He was extremely anxious. Just like Zhao Sui, the elder leading the team in the Umo Palace, Han Sun, also had a terrible look on his face. As time passed, the number of people who appeared in the Diqian Divine Guard area grew fewer and fewer. Zhao Sui, why do you look so pale? In my opinion, the geniuses of the Thousand River region must have gone to the last stage. And they must have passed it. It would be a glorious thing to see a group of people on the first level of the fighting ring. Lu Xiu said with a smile. Shut up, Lu. Zhao Sui's eyes turned red. Lu Xiu was mocking him. How could there be so many people in the Thousand River region who could pass the last level? Even if there was one, he would laugh his head off. Haha. Calm down, calm down. Lu Xiu laughed out loud, almost causing Zhao Sui to vomit blood. It seems like the geniuses of the Thousand River region died in battle. I wonder which powerful region did it. I really have to thank them. Lu Xiu thought. Lu Xiu was elated to see Zhao Sui in such a state. In the past it was the opposite. Very quickly half an hour had passed. Many people could no longer sit still. How is that possible? Why are there so few geniuses in Phoenix Lake? Us too. Where are our people from Flaming Mountain? Arg. Only 4 people from my Yangshuan Valley region have become Emperor Sky Divine Guards. That's impossible. Loud roars rang out. Half an hour had passed. Even if he managed to clear the next level, he should have failed and come out. However, he had yet to come out, which meant that he had most likely fallen in the Eastern Nether Ancient battlefield. Among them, the team leading elders of the Phoenix Lake area, the Yangshuan Valley area, and the Flaming Mountain area were the loudest. They were a super region and geniuses were as numerous as the clouds. At the very least, there would be 34 people who could become the Empyrean Heaven Divine Guards. But now there were only 2 or 3 of them. This meant that the geniuses of these regions had died in batches in the Eastern Nether Ancient battlefield. Some were happy, some were worried. Some of the elders who were leading the teams from other regions were all smiles because their regions had achieved so much success that they had even exceeded their expectations. This time, 820 Diqian Divine Guards have already appeared. It's a little more than the previous years. This generation is truly full of geniuses. Not bad. In the past, 500 people were already considered good. Adding up the north, south, east, and west, it's already very good to have 2,000 people. This time it's far more. Now let's see how many people can get past the final checkpoint and reach the first level of the fighting ring. I estimate that there will be more than to Levere. We have 13 super regions on our side. The strongest person in each super region should be able to make it to the end. Not necessarily. Maybe there's a super dark horse? Just wait and see. Look, there's a fluctuation on the first level's battle platform. Someone has passed the last level and is about to appear. Who is it? At this moment, everyone's eyes were fixed on the fighting ring at the bottom. Buzz. The space trembled and a young figure appeared. This young man was dressed in a blood-red robe. His face was pale and cold. He was Zhongsheng from the Dragon Burial Abyss. Who was this person? I don't think he's from any of the 13 super regions. He's actually the first one to succeed. Could it be that he's able to suppress the geniuses of the super regions? The crowd was in a heated discussion. Especially the elders who were leading the teams, they were all making guesses. Haha. This man is the peerless genius of our dragon burial abyss. Zhang Sheng. Suddenly a maniacal laugh was heard. What? The people of the dragon burial abyss. The dragon burial abyss has appeared? I didn't expect that the dragon burial abyss would have such a genius the moment it appeared. It's really amazing. An NBSP what? The surrounding spectators all exclaimed. Below on the fighting ring, once Zhang Sheng appeared, he swept his gaze around. When he realized that he was alone, his face revealed a look of ecstasy. Haha, this time the Eastern Sky Divine Guards of the 4 Sky Divine Guards will definitely be mine. Zhang Sheng roared in his heart. Someone else has appeared. Someone shouted. On the fighting ring there was another fluctuation and then a figure appeared. Cho Chongkong. The second figure to appear was actually Cho Chongkong. Wuxia was stunned. Then his body trembled with excitement as he roared, haha. This is the genius of the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range. The genius of the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range. Wuxia had never expected that someone would actually make it to the last stage. Wuxia's roar immediately caused an uproar. What? A genius from the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range? How was that possible? The Cloud Emperor Mountain Range was a place where even birds don't want to shit. How could someone make it to the last stage? Don't lie to me. I don't believe it either. The surroundings were filled with discussions. No, that's impossible. Zhao Sui roared. He had seen Cho Chongkong before, and he couldn't believe what he was seeing. The moment Cho Chongkong appeared, he swept his gaze over the crowd. When he saw Zhang Sheng, he snorted coldly and a hint of killing intent flashed in his eyes. He actually appeared faster than him. Zhang Sheng did not back down and looked back coldly. At this moment, in a secret room in the assessment venue, Die! Lu Ming shouted as he punched continuously. His fists were so powerful that they disappeared with a loud boom. Lu Ming stood still as he retracted his fists. The next moment, the old man's figure appeared again. Congratulations, you've passed this round. There's still one last round. The old man waved his hand, and the scene changed again. Lu Ming realized that he had appeared on another platform. In front of him, there was a middle-aged man with a spear on his back. He looked exactly the same as the burly man from before. However, the aura that this middle-aged burly man exuded this time was extremely terrifying. It was several times stronger than before. Half-Step King Warrior. This time it was actually Half-Step King Warrior. The peak of Martial Ancestor Realm and Half-Step King Realm seemed to be only one step away, but the gap was huge. If one had to describe the difference, an ordinary Half-Step King was at least 2 levels higher than a peak 9th level Martial Ancestor. Yes, more than 2 levels. As long as you can defeat me, you'll pass, the middle-aged man said. Lu Ming sighed to himself. This level was too difficult. He reckoned that not many people would pass it. One had to be at least at the peak of the 8th level of the Martial Ancestor Realm. Furthermore, one had to be a 4-battle genius to pass. Kill! All of a sudden, the middle-aged man bellowed. His long spear was like a dragon as it charged at Lu Ming. The spear's gleam burst out and enveloped Lu Ming's entire body. 9 dragons trampling the heavens. Lu Ming could not be bothered to waste any more time. He immediately cast the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps. Chapter 422. 422 Chapter 422 Clear the stage, killing intent. Boom! Oh! A terrifying power burst forth, as if it could shatter everything. The first to bear the brunt was the spear radiance. With a loud boom, the spear radiance exploded, and then a turbulent force gushed forward. Bang! The middle-aged man's body cracked and turned into dust under the majestic attack of the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. One move, just one move, and a Half-Step King was killed by Lu Ming. More than half a year ago, during the war with the mystical sword sect, A half-step king was still an undefeatable existence to Lu Ming. He was high and mighty, and in the blazing Sun Empire, he was a well-deserved tyrant. But now, only a little more than half a year had passed and Lu Ming could kill a half-step king in one move. Who would believe it? In the past 6 months, Lu Ming's progress could be described as lightning fast. The middle-aged man collapsed and disappeared into energy. After that, the platform started to glow and a black vortex formed. Lu Ming smiled and stepped in. After a moment of dizziness, Lu Ming realized that he was in a fighting ring after everything had settled down. Several other directions of the fighting ring were blocked by a light curtain. Only the eastern side had a fan-shaped spectator stand, which was full of people. At that moment, Lu Xiu's eyes widened as he stared at the fighting ring below. Then, his body began to tremble, and even his breathing became heavy. "Hey Lu Xiu, what's wrong? Why are you shaking? Don't tell me he's suddenly possessed." An elder leader from a small district asked Lu Xiu in confusion. "No, I'm not scared. I'm scared because I saw another person pass the last stage in my Cloud Emperor mountain range. I'm so excited." Lu Xiu stuttered. "It's good that you're fine." The elder in charge nodded. The next moment he seemed to have realized something. His eyes widened and he looked at Lu Xiu in disbelief. "What? What did you just say? Another person from the Cloud Emperor mountain range passed the last stage? You're not joking, are you? How is that possible?" His eyes were filled with disbelief. It's true. Although I'm also surprised, it's true," Lu Xiu said in a trembling voice. In fact, even he himself found it hard to believe. Lu Xiu's words naturally reached the ears of the people around him, but most of them shook their heads and were skeptical. How could 2 people pass the last level in the small Cloud Emperor mountain range? This had never happened before. Occasionally, a person from a small area would pass through. That was still possible as it had happened before in history. It must be known that in most super large areas, only one person could pass through. Sometimes no one could. However, there was one exception, and that was the elder leading the team at the Thousand River region, Zhao Sui. At this moment, his body was trembling slightly, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Others might not have seen Lu Ming, but he had. Of course, he knew that Lu Ming was from the Cloud Emperor mountain range. There were actually 2 people who had passed the last stage in the Cloud Emperor mountain range, while only 1 or 2 people from the Thousand River region had become the Emperor Sky Divine Guards. Those geniuses who were ranked higher had all disappeared. Comparing the two, the waters of the Thousand River were too tragic to look at. How could this be? How did this happen? Zhao Sui kept growling, his eyes red. He could not accept this fact. The geniuses from the Thousand River region had yet to appear. He knew that they had most likely fallen. Jiang Hongwen and Shangguan Yunyan, who were in the area of the Emperor Sky Divine Guards, also widened their eyes. Lu Xuan, Lu Ming, it's Lu Ming. He also passed the last level? How is this possible? Jiang Hongwen shouted in disbelief. He rubbed his eyes hard, thinking that he was seeing things. However, he almost rubbed his eyes until they bled. He was still looking at Lu Ming. Lu Ming has become so powerful. No wonder Jian Fengyun is so nice to him. I'm so silly. I should have thought of this earlier. Jiang Hongwen muttered. At the thought of how he had advised Lu Ming to hide far away from Cho Chongkong before they entered the assessment venue, he felt his face burning. Lu Ming's abilities were probably not much weaker than Cho Chongkong's. They might even be geniuses on the same level. In particular, when he thought of how he did not treat Lu Ming well previously, he felt uneasy. He wished that he could give himself a slap. If Lu Ming bore a grudge because of this, he would have a hard time in the future. In the Ditian Divine Guards area, Jian Fengyun smiled. He was not surprised that Lu Ming could pass the last level. Of course, Lu Ming did not know what these people were thinking. He swept his gaze across and sized up his surroundings. He discovered that there were already 7 to 8 figures on the platform. Kid, it's you? You didn't die? Suddenly, a cold voice with a hint of disbelief was heard. Lu Ming looked in the direction of the voice and a cold smile appeared on his face. The person who spoke was Zhang Shang from the Dragon Burial Abyss. At that moment, Zhang Sheng was looking at him with a face full of killing intent. If you're not dead, how could I be? Lu Ming smiled faintly. Zhang Sheng's eyes flickered and he said coldly, good, very good. Although I don't know what method you used to escape with your life, you shouldn't have rushed here this time. Hehe, I hope you don't run into me. Otherwise, I'll suck all the blood in your body. Oh really? I'm afraid you don't have that ability. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Lu Ming. At this moment, a low growl came from the other side. Lu Ming looked over, his eyes filled with killing intent. Qiu Chongkong. To be honest, Qiu Chongkong's appearance here was beyond Lu Ming's expectations. It seems like it must be related to his master. Lu Ming thought to himself. Lu Ming, I really didn't expect that not only did you not die in the Eastern Nether Ancient battlefield, but you actually made it here. It's really beyond my expectations. But this is also good. It saves me the trouble of looking for your old ghost father, and I can directly take action on you. Qiu Chongkong glared at Lu Ming, his voice filled with killing intent. All right, let's settle our grudges this time. Lu Ming's killing intent was also extremely strong. Boom, boom, boom. Many powerful auras rose up and confronted each other. The final battle had yet to begin, but Lu Ming and Qiu Chongkong were already sparring in the midst of death. Now the battle hasn't started yet. You're not allowed to fight. At this time a majestic voice came from the sky. A figure had appeared in the sky without anyone knowing. It was a middle-aged burly man with a monstrous aura. His aura was scorching hot. He stood in the void like a sun, burning the void until it distorted. A terrifying and boundless pressure emanated from his body. Countless people's expressions changed drastically. This was definitely a king tier, and even among king tiers he wasn't weak. Chapter 423. 423 The Eastern Sky Divine Guards. He's the protector of the Fire Palace of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. Oh, someone called out, recognizing the burly man. What? The protector of the Fire Palace of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace? Everyone was shocked. The guardians of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace were extremely powerful figures with the ability to destroy the heavens and earth. They were definitely famous figures in the eastern region of the Tianxian region. Of course, the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace here wasn't the main palace but the eastern branch of the Heavenly Mystic region. On the battle stage, Zhang Sheng and Qiu Chongkong snorted coldly and retracted their auras. Lu Ming sneered and retracted his aura. Buzz! At this moment the space trembled again, and a figure carrying a long sword appeared. Xianfeng of the ancient barren city. Lu Ming's gaze flickered. Lu Ming did not see Xianfeng's corpse in the underground cave of the Dragon's Cave. As expected, he was still alive. With Xianfeng's combat strength, it was no problem for him to make it to the last level. Humph! You're courting death. A cold voice rang out as Zhang Sheng's sinister eyes turned to Xianfeng. Buzz! The sound of a sword rang out, and a powerful sword chi rippled from Xianfeng's body. His eyes were like lightning as he stared at Zhang Sheng. They've all appeared. Good, this time I'll settle them all. Zhang Sheng sneered. Xianfeng also saw the protector of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace in the sky. He retracted his aura and walked to the side. The audience was extremely excited. Between these geniuses, the stronger the smell of gunpowder, the more excited they were, because the upcoming battle would also be more intense. The fighting ring was silent. Time slowly passed. The space in the fighting ring trembled from time to time. Someone appeared. Very quickly, the number of people had increased to over a dozen. Half an hour later, no one else appeared. All right, time's up. There are no more participants in the assessment area. The protector of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace announced in the sky. No, how is that possible? Phoenix Lake's geniuses, why are there only so few of them? Where's Huang Qixian, where did he go? Mayang Spring Valley too, where's Sun Chu? Protector, did you make a mistake? Bu Fifan of my Flaming Mountain Range is a peerless talent. He will definitely make it to the last level. Why isn't he here? The leading elders of Phoenix Lake, Yangchuan Valley, Flaming Mountain, and even another super region all shouted in disbelief. What are you shouting for? If he doesn't appear, it means he has fallen inside. It means that he doesn't have enough talent and luck. What's so strange about that? The middle-aged guardian rebuked as he looked coldly at the elders leading the teams. The few elder leaders immediately kept quiet out of fear. They felt cold all over and did not dare to say a word. All right, the previous assessment has ended. Now let's start the final battle. The purpose of the battle is to determine the final 4 divine guards of the East Sky. I'm sure all of you know what the Eastern Heaven divine guards are. I'll repeat myself here. When you were teleported into the Eastern Nether Ancient battlefield, you were automatically distributed in 4 directions: north, south, east, and west. The teleportation altar behind you is also divided into 4 directions, corresponding to the north, south, east, and west. Your group belongs to the east. Therefore, the strongest person will be the Eastern Heaven Divine Guards. The 4 Heavens Divine Guards represent the 4 strongest experts in this batch of Emperor Heaven's Divine Guards. There will be generous rewards. The middle-aged protector explained in detail. Everyone nodded. This was something that many people already knew. So, for this battle, the 2nd or 3rd place is not important. What's important is the 1st place. I'll say it again, what's important is the 1st place. The middle-aged protector shouted, his voice spreading through the entire area. On the platform, all the young men's eyes were shining, and a strong desire to fight rose from their bodies. There were a total of 17 young men and women on the fighting ring. Each of them was a genius among geniuses, and each of them had rare talents. They had absolute confidence in themselves. They were confident that they were stronger than others. This time, the Eastern Sky Divine Guards are mine. A deep voice rang out. It came from a tall and burly young man. This person was more than 2 meters tall, and his entire body was covered in muscles, as if he was cast from steel. Tai Quanzhong, it's fine if you're the overlord of the Iron Peak area, but you're dreaming if you think you can become the Eastern Sky Divine Guard here. The Eastern Sky Divine Guard is mine. A beautiful woman with blue hair said in a domineering manner. Aha, Aofeishuan, I think you better go home and have a child. You want to take over the East Heaven Divine Guards? The burly young man sneered. What did you just say? The blue-haired beauty, Aofeishuan, widened her eyes. A bunch of trash wants to take over the Eastern Sky Divine Guards? You're daydreaming. Zhongsheng curled his lips and sneered. Arrogant. You're looking for death. Zhongsheng's words infuriated the crowd. More than 10 young experts looked at him with killing intent. Zhongsheng smiled indifferently. All right, I'm done. At this moment, the middle-aged guardian spoke. Everyone shut their mouths. Take this jade plate. The middle-aged guardian waved his hand and 17 jade plates flew out, 1 for each of them. Everyone took the jade token in their hands. Now inscribe your information into the jade tokens. I'm going to draw lots with this jade token later. The middle-aged man ordered. Everyone's mind moved and engraved their own information into the jade token. Then, he returned them to the middle-aged guardian one by one. The middle-aged guardian picked up the jade tablet and read it aloud. This time, a total of 17 people have passed the final stage. They are Zhongsheng from the Dragon Burial Pool, Qiu Chongkong from the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range, Tai Quanzhong from the Iron Peak, Lu Ming from the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range, Aofeishuan from the Jade Lake region. The middle-aged man read out the names one by one, and in a few moments, he had finished reading all 17 names. As soon as the middle-aged man finished speaking, the crowd burst into an uproar. Wait, did I hear wrong? I seem to have heard that there are 2 people from the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range? That poor and remote place? You didn't hear wrong, I heard it too. This is too fucking weird. 2 people actually cleared the level in the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range. Is the sun rising from the west? The small Cloud Emperor Mountain Range is really crazy this time. The spectators in the stands discussed animatedly and were extremely shocked. As for the elders in charge of each region, they were all dumbfounded and shocked. In the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range, there were 2 people who passed the level. Previously, they thought that Wuxia was talking nonsense. He didn't expect it to be true. This was really unbelievable. Wuxia was trembling with excitement. The tiny Cloud King mountain range actually produced two such geniuses. This time his reward would definitely be terrifying. Brother Lu, don't forget me when you're successful in the future. Brother Lu, when this selection is over, I'll treat you to a meal at the Drunken Immortal restaurant. Brother Lu, you must come and visit me. Immediately, some of the other elder team leaders beside Lu Xiao, and even some of the elder team leaders from the larger regions, expressed their goodwill to Lu Xiao. Lu Xiao was so excited that he almost laughed. He had never felt so happy before. Chapter 424. 424 Good luck. Lu Xiao could not help but burst out laughing. Oh, it was simply too comfortable. In the past, he was only a team leader of the Cloud Emperor mountain range. He was at the bottom of the group and was often ridiculed. However, the Cloud Emperor mountain range was on the weaker side, and no one had become an Emperor Sky Divine Guard in the previous tournament. This made him less and less valued. He had once dreamed that the Cloud Emperor mountain range would produce a few peerless geniuses whose names would shake the world and make him proud. However, he knew that it was just a dream. It was impossible. But now all of this had come true. How could he not be excited? Those people who had looked down on him in the past had all come to make friends with him. Lu Ming, Qiu Changkong. It's all thanks to the two of you. Lu Xiao sighed as he looked at the two young men on the fighting ring with bright eyes. He was especially shocked by Lu Ming. Qiu Changkong. He vaguely knew that Qiu Changkong had a powerful backer in the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. It was still acceptable for him to achieve such results. However, Lu Ming was completely alone. He did not have any backing. He had relied on his own hard work to reach this stage. This made him value him even more. Everyone was discussing, but most of the discussions were about Lu Ming and Qiu Changkong. Cloud Emperor Mountain Range. On the fighting ring, the other geniuses and experts looked at Lu Ming and Qiu Changkong with surprise in their eyes. The corners of Qiu Changkong's mouth curled up, and he didn't even try to hide the smugness on his face. Lu Ming only smiled and stood quietly at the side. Silence. The middle-aged protector opened his mouth and the entire place suddenly became silent. Now I will announce the rules of the duel. The rules are very simple. We will draw lots and fight one-on-one. The winner will advance and the loser will be eliminated. This will continue until the strongest one is decided. In the process of the battle, you can't consume any pills or use any battle beasts. You can do whatever you want, but there is one principle, and that is you can't kill your opponent. The middle-aged protector announced. Can't kill the opponent. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He felt that it was a pity. If he had met Qiu Changkong, he would have been able to escape with his life. Lu Ming, you're lucky. At the side, Buried Life chuckled. You're the lucky one. Lu Ming said. Oh really? Don't think that I can't do anything to you just because I can't kill you. I can still cripple you. Zhang Sheng's cold voice rang out. Is that so? Lu Ming sneered. On the other side, Qiu Changkong sneered. Okay, now I have carved 16 numbers on these 17 jade plates. They are number 1 to number 16. The last one is empty. All of you will draw lots. The one who draws number 1 will fight against number 16, number 2 will fight against number 15, number 3 will fight against number 14, and so on. The one who draws an empty number will directly advance to the next round. The middle-aged man said. With that, he waved his hand and 17 jade plates floated in the air. They emitted a hazy light and covered the numbers on them. I'll go first. Zhang Sheng laughed coldly and reached out his hand. A powerful suction force was produced and the jade token was caught in his hand. Then the others followed suit and grabbed a jade plate. Lu Ming also grabbed a jade card. Grabbing the jade token in his hand, he infused his zhenqi into it, and a number appeared on the jade token. No, it was not a number but 2 words, empty. Lu Ming was stunned. He did not expect his luck to be so good. In the first round he actually drew an empty draw. Alright. Report the number you drew. The middle-aged protector said. I'm number 16. Zhang Sheng was the first to walk out. He flipped open the jade token and there was a number on it. 16. I'll be number 3. Cho Chongkong walked out and opened his jade token as well. The number on the token was 3. I'm number 5. Number 6. One by one, the young men flipped open their jade tokens. Soon, he had opened all the pages from room 1 to room 16. At this moment, everyone's eyes were focused on Lu Ming. If there were people from the 1st to the 16th, then wouldn't the rest be a buy? Lu Ming smiled and flipped the jade tablet. The words buy were written on it. It's a buy as expected. This kid's luck is really good. His luck is not bad, but it's useless. In the end, it still depends on strength. If he doesn't have strength, he will be very miserable when he meets an expert in the next round. That's true. On the grandstand, the crowd was in a heated discussion. Brat, you're lucky. Zhang Sheng cast a cold glance at Lu Ming. This time, Lu Ming could not even be bothered to look at him. He directly ignored him. This was a mad dog. There was no point in saying more. When the time came, he would beat him up so badly that even his mother wouldn't be able to recognize him. Now the battle begins. Number 1 against number 16. The rest of you step aside. The middle-aged protector announced. Lu Ming and the rest retreated to the side, leaving only Zhang Sheng and a young man in a brocade robe at the scene. Zhang Sheng's face revealed a sinister smile as he stared at the youth in embroidered robes and said, Kid, I advise you to admit defeat quickly. Otherwise, you'll suffer later. Admit defeat. In my dictionary, there is no such thing as admitting defeat. I've long been displeased by your arrogance. I hope that your strength will not disappoint me. The youth in the brocade robe laughed arrogantly. You'll regret this very soon. Zhang Sheng sneered. The atmosphere was already tense even before they started fighting. In the stands, the crowd was also in a heated discussion, expressing their own opinions. That's Yu Changfei, the strongest genius of the Yushu Plain in the super region. Who do you think will win? I think it's the burial in the dragon burial pool. This person is the first to pass the test and appear here. In my opinion, that might not be the case. Being the first to clear the stage might not necessarily mean that one's combat strength is the strongest. That's true. Boom. Boom. Everyone was just discussing when 2 powerful auras erupted. Then the 2 figures charged at each other like lightning. Jade cutting palm. Blood dragon claw. Boom. With a loud boom, a terrifying blast of air swept out. Blood red and jade green light exploded and filled the entire fighting ring. Bang! The next moment a scream was heard. A figure was sent flying like a cannonball, spitting out large mouthfuls of blood in the air. It was Yu Changfei, the young man from Yushu Plain. Countless people widened their eyes. Yu Changfei, the strongest genius in the super region, was sent flying by one move and spat out blood. How was this possible? From the aura that Yu Changfei had just released, he was definitely at the peak of the 8th level of the martial ancestor realm. Furthermore, he had been through 4 battles. Such an expert was actually sent flying by a single move from Zhang Sheng. How terrifying was Zhang Sheng? Haha, I was wondering how strong you would be. Turns out you're just trash. Now I'll let you know how strong I am. Zhang Sheng laughed coldly. Then he moved his body and appeared above Yu Changfei like a ghost. He stared at Yu Changfei with a cold gaze. Return it. Yu Changfei was shocked. He used all his strength and sent out 7 palm strikes. The palm strikes were crystal clear and like jade. However, Burial only needed a few claw strikes to destroy the jade palm force. He grabbed Yu Changkong's neck and pressed down hard. Chapter 425. 425 Chapter 425 Red Flame Dark Thunder. Bang! Oh! Yu Changkong's entire body slammed into the fighting ring, causing the entire fighting ring to rumble. Yu Changkong spat out mouthfuls of blood. Trash, you're just trash. You're just a piece of trash, yet you're still so arrogant. You're really looking for death. Zhang Sheng sneered. He then kicked Yu Changfei's head. Yu Changfei's body flew out like a broken sack and fell off the fighting ring. After falling off the fighting ring, he fainted. Boom! In the stands, an old man stood up and roared, "Zhang Sheng, your methods are too vicious. Yu Changfei has clearly lost, yet you still use such a heavy blow. You violated the rules." This old man was the elder leading the team in the Jade Virtual Plane. "Old man, what are you shouting for? I didn't kill him, so how is that against the rules?" Zhang Sheng sneered. "You fuck." The elder leading the team of Yushu Plane turned red and looked at the middle-aged protector. "Protector, is this against the rules? Not dead doesn't count." The middle-aged protector's answer was very simple, which made the elder leading the team of the Yushu Plane stunned. Then he sat down with an ashen face. Zhang Sheng's smile became even more smug. This Zhang Sheng is indeed terrifying, as expected of the genius who was the first to break through the barrier. His cultivation has definitely reached the 9th level of the martial ancestor realm, and it's not as simple as the early or middle stage of the 9th level. He didn't even use his full strength just now. Everyone was discussing. At the edge of the fighting ring, the other geniuses and experts were also looking at Zhang Sheng with a grave expression. Burial's combat strength gave them a lot of pressure. This burial has improved so much during this period of time. It must be related to the blood of Bu Fifan and the other geniuses. Lu Ming's heart stirred. When he was in the Dragon's Cave, Zhang Sheng's strength should be similar to Huang Qixian, Bu Fifan and the others. He should also be similar to Yu Changfei, but now he was much stronger than before. No wonder he was so arrogant. Zhang Sheng from the Dragon Burial Abyss is the winner of this battle. Let the next battle begin, the middle-aged protector announced. Zhang Sheng walked to the side of the fighting ring. Two figures flashed and appeared in the center of the fighting ring. This time it was still two geniuses from the super regions, a man and a woman. However, their cultivation was much stronger than Yu Changfei's. This was because both of their cultivations had broken through to the early stage of the 9th realm of martial ancestor realm. Furthermore, they were both battle-hardened and extremely powerful. The two of them engaged in an intense battle. All kinds of ultimate moves and killing moves dazzled some people. The two of them exchanged more than 200 moves before the woman won by luck. Then the third battle began. For this battle, Qiu Changkong went up, and his opponent was Tai Quanzhong from the Iron Peak. Tai Quanzhong's body was more than 2 meters tall, and his muscles were as hard as steel. He was full of strength and seemed to be invincible. "Kid, you're from the Cloud Emperor mountain range? It's not bad to be able to come this far from that small place. However, it's all over." Tai Quanzhong said in disdain. "You're still far from enough." Qiu Changkong was extremely confident. "Oh really? I'll beat you into a pig head." Boom! Tai Quanzhong took a step forward like a wild beast, causing the fighting ring to rumble. The muscles on his body swelled up, and a terrifying aura spread out. Early stage of martial ancestor realm level 9. This was Tai Quanzhong's cultivation. Iron fist. Boom! Tai Quanzhong roared as he threw a punch at Qiu Changkong. Thunder sword slash. Qiu Changkong shouted. In the next instant, crimson-red lightning flashed around his body. The scarlet lightning burst out with his combat sword, forming a scarlet lightning sword. Boom! The scarlet thunder sword and Tai Quanzhong's fists collided. The next moment, bang, 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 Tai Quanzhong's body trembled, and his face suddenly changed. He took 9 steps back in a row, and every step he took caused the fighting ring to rumble. Tai Quanzhong was at a disadvantage in one move. Everyone was shocked. He didn't expect Qiu Changkong to be so powerful. Damn it! Tai Quanzhong roared in anger. The next moment, a huge crocodile appeared above his head. The crocodile was over 20 meters long and covered in armor. This was the iron-armored demon crocodile, a powerful fierce beast that could fight with the flood dragon. There were 6 Esilavira chakras around the iron-armored demon crocodile. Roar! The iron-armored demon crocodile roared and rushed into Tai Quanzhong's body. Suddenly, Tai Quanzhong's already burly body expanded again. and his aura became even more powerful. Bloodline? Do you think you're the only one who has that? Cho Changkong sneered. In the next moment, a red ball of lightning appeared above his head. The crimson ball of lightning sizzled and surrounded by lightning, emitting a terrifying aura. This is the Scarlet Flame Mystic Thunder. Someone cried out in surprise as he recognized the lightning. There was no doubt that this was a special bloodline, and a natural type of special bloodline at that. The same type of bloodline could actually be divided into many types. For example, the fire bloodline, the ice bloodline, and the lightning bloodline. Each of these bloodlines had many smaller types. There were strong and weak. As for the Scarlet Flame Mystic Lightning, it was considered strong even among the lightning bloodlines. Around the lightning bloodline, 6 Asilavira chakras were shining. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. This was the first time he had seen Cho Changkong's bloodline. Cho Changkong's second bloodline was also a 6th-level king. No wonder the other geniuses in the Blazing Sun Empire couldn't compare to him. Cho Changkong activated his bloodline power, and his aura grew even stronger. His entire body was covered in the power of lightning. Lightning Sword, World Annihilation. Whoosh! A thunderbolt sword instantly pierced through the void and slashed towards Tai Quanzhong. Tai Quanzhong bellowed in anger. His entire body swelled up like a giant of steel as he lunged towards Cho Changkong. Boom! Another earth-shattering boom rang out. Tai Quanzhong let out a blood-curdling screech as his huge body was sent flying far away before crashing onto the ground. His steel-like body was covered in lightning and blood. He was defeated. Tai Quanzhong had been defeated. In front of Cho Changkong, he had no way to fight back. Countless people were shocked. How could this young man from the Cloud Emperor mountain range be so terrifying? On the grandstand, Wuxia was so excited that his entire body was trembling. The 2 geniuses from the Cloud King mountain range had entered the second round. This was unbelievable. Although Lu Ming had entered the second round by luck, it was still the second round, right? At the edge of the fighting ring, Zhang Shang's eyes flickered with killing intent as he looked at Cho Changkong with a grave expression. What a powerful force. No, I don't think it can be called force anymore. It contains a trace of intent. What kind of fortuitous encounter did Cho Changkong encounter during this period of time? Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Cho Changkong's cultivation was only at the early 9th level of martial ancestor realm, but his force was extremely powerful. Lu Ming could feel that there was already a trace of intent within the momentum. This was something that only half-step kings could master. Interesting, very interesting. Lu Ming muttered, his fighting spirit growing stronger. Cloud Emperor Mountain Range, Cho Changkong wins, the middle-aged man announced. Cho Changkong sheathed his sword and walked to the side. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.